Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was Saved by Minato and Hinata, Part 5. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Minato became conscious. His first impression was of Kushina's serenely sleeping face. He recalled the day he woke up with her watching him sleep and he was able to see her. Reminding himself that it was the first time she had slept since her death, he resisted the urge to wake her. She didn't have to sleep because she was a ghost, so the first few months of her undead life were extremely dull until she started to wander around Konoha at night. She was extremely familiar with the streets of Konoha because of this, but more significantly, she was able to enter people's homes covertly and learn some of their secrets. Minato said she would make excellent use of the information she had gathered over the years and expressed some pity for the villagers who had truly irritated Kushina. Later, however, would be the time for retaliation. Now was the moment to be happy. Naruto's sleeping form caught his attention. It seemed as though their son was still holding on to his mother's body, fearing that she would vanish if he let her go. However, he was sleeping just as soundly as Kushina, and his face showed no signs of worry. When they finally dozed off from the stress, Minato pulled them to the bed. Minato's imagination ran wild. If things were different, the days of our life should have been like this. Kushina and I waking up together with an occasional presence of Naruto because he had a nightmare. Even we could had a younger child with us, a little girl with red hair and green eyes, Minato with a small grin. He shook his head, realizing that focusing solely on the years gone would make him unhappy. Instead, he needed to focus on their future rather than the past. After that terrible night when Kushina and he perished, leaving Naruto alone in a village that would hate him, they were finally reunited. It was nearly a miracle that he and Kushina were both back in time and alive now, a result of a confluence of impossible circumstances. They now had the opportunity to recover a portion of the joy they had been denied. Minato stroked Kushina's hair and Naruto's cheek. He started conversing with them. Naruto, Kushina, I don't know if I would have been able to rise above the torments you had to pass these years. Kushi-chan, I know what happened thanks to the memories you shared with me, and I can't imagine myself in any of your roles without snapping or destroying myself. Comparing to yours, my existence was a happy one, he replied. Minato brought to mind his afterlife. I was in a paradise with fighting battles with the most legendary fighters in history just for the joy of battle, without worrying for my comrades' lives or mine, because at the end of the day everyone would arise and we would have a feast with our loved ones, said Minato. He gave Kushina a look. The only black spot I had in my afterlife was that you never appeared, while the truth was that you were looking after Naruto. However, your absence didn't mean that I was alone there, the rest of my family was there. In the first feast I reunited again with my own father and I finally met my mother. You would have befriended her immediately, Kushi-chan, Minato said with a slight grin. He gazed at the ceiling and embraced. But you know what? I don't want to return there. Now that I'm with you, I really feel that I am in heaven. A paradise can't be called like that if you can't share it with your loved ones as I'm doing now, stated. Minato gave them a look. When I was younger, my dream was to become Hokage and form a family. I managed to achieve it before everything was took from us. Now I have new dream, your happiness, stated. He gave Naruto a look. Naruto, my son, if I knew what you would have to cope because my decision of sealing the Kyuubi inside you. Your last deeds are giving you some of the respect you deserved, but your life is endangered because the enemies who want the fox for their own goals. Protecting you from them is my duty as father and as the one who did the sealing, a task I will do happily. I also will help you to achieve your dream to become Hokage. I'll make you strong to a point where you wouldn't need my protection anymore. A point where you'll be stronger than me and the previous Hokages combined, said Naruto. He looked at Kushina and kissed his son's forehead. Kushi-chan, my love, you were the one who suffered most. Seeing how our child suffered without being able to help him, I barely have an idea about how relieved you felt when we discovered that it was not true and you really helped him. Now my life will revolve about you both. Kushina, I'm going to make you feel the most special woman in the world. I'll treat you like a princess as you deserved, but also as a very skilled and strong kunoichi as you wished. I'll make sure that all days would be special and unique to you. You have been many things for me during our lives. My friend, my partner, my girlfriend, my lover, my wife, my son's mother. Naruto and you are my life. I don't care about anything else, now I live for you and only you, whispered. He was going to tilt his face in Kushina's direction to give her a kiss when she took hold of his head and gave him a gentle peck on the lips. After the initial shock, Minato accepted the kiss. He glanced at her when they broke it. He was asked, "Kushi-chan, did you hear what I said?" Her smile was mischievous as she gazed at him. "Everything. That was one of the most beautiful things you ever said me, Min-kun," she replied. Minato attempted to say, "Kushi-chan, but Kushina covered his mouth with 2 fingers. "Don't say anything else. Just be loyal to your words and make me happy with another kiss," Kushina replied. Ignoring the other person between them, they started kissing and hugging each other. MMMPH. I can't breathe, Naruto cried as he awoke. To allow Naruto to breathe, Minato and Kushina broke the embrace. When he caught his breath, his mother's smile was the first thing he saw. Kushina caressed Naruto's cheeks and kissed him tenderly on the forehead. He was asked, "How did you sleep, my little Naru?" "Mom," cried Naruto as he gave her a hug. Minato smiled at them as they stood there for a few minutes without saying anything, but then a stereo sound broke the silence. Grow RGGH. Naruto and Kushina touched their stomachs and exchanged blushing glances. As his family blushed, Minato said, amused, "I didn't realize it, but none of us ate anything since yesterday's morning." "That's not my case, I didn't eat in more than 15 years. Kushina objected as she tossed her husband a pillow. Minato laughed and said, I know. I'll go buy something out, I'll be back soon." As he made his way to the kitchen, Kushina said, "No, wait. Let me make the breakfast, I want to see if I kept my cooking skills." As he followed her, Naruto asked, his eyes full of stars, "Do you know how to cook, Mom?" "Yes, Naruto. It was something I knew before moving to Konoha and becoming a kick-ass kunoichi," Kushina replied. Minato remarked, "Your mother was a really good cook." In a light-hearted tone, she pretended to be a controlling housewife and said, "What do you mean by, was? My skills didn't rust at all. Naruto, now you are going to set the table and then wait while I prepare the best breakfast you'll ever savor." After obeying and waiting for a short while, the husband and son soon detected a delicious scent emanating from the kitchen. Naruto was anxious and drooling. How would his mother's food taste? A few minutes later, Kushina showed up holding 3 bowls of ramen and placed one in front of him. The boy gazed at the bowl of ramen as though it were his first time seeing one. It appeared to be the same recipe that his father had given him the day after they reconnected, but there was something about the way it looked that he couldn't quite put his finger on, but it made it seem better. Naruto was unaware that his mother was observing him, curious to know if he enjoyed her food. He took some noodles with the chopsticks and put them in his mouth while trembling. He had never tasted anything so amazing. It was superior to Ichiraku's ramen and even better than the one his father had prepared for him. He wanted to cry because it was so delicious. He started to empty the bowl, his tears barely contained. At Naruto's response, Kushina and Minato grinned and started eating as well. Minato recalled how Kushina insisted on cooking when they first moved in together, claiming he lacked culinary skills, and how she ate her food with nearly no manners, much like Naruto does now. Kushina ate for the first time since she regained consciousness. She didn't have to eat because she was a ghost, but she missed the joy that came from eating delicious food. The person who liked his food the most, though, was Naruto. "Why this ramen is so good? Is it because Mom made it for me with all her love?" Now I understood why the other kids commented that they preferred their mother's cooking whenever they exchanged the food they brought from home, said the child. When he was done, he turned to face his mother in a beseeching manner. Shyly, "See if it doesn't bother you, Mama, could you make me more?" Kushina grinned and said, "Of course. My clones are making more bowls, you can eat all you want." "Thank you, Mom, you're the best," Naruto said as he gave her a hug. The family continued to eat until they were full. In the end, Minato consumed 8 bowls, Naruto 10, and Kushina 11. Naruto's face was serious as he gazed at his mother. "Mom, I feel really at ease when I'm with you, like we lived together all life, but I barely know things about you. Can you tell me about your life?" "I didn't ask Dad because I didn't want to make him feel sad," the child replied. Naruto's words made Minato feel bad. "Naruto, if you wanted to know more about Mom you should ask it, you didn't have to worry about me," Minato replied. Sitting at Naruto's side, Kushina remarked, "It doesn't matter anymore. Now I'm here and I can tell my Naru all those things he wanted to know about me. She stroked Naruto's hair while leaning his on her shoulder. Naruto and Kushina truly behaved as though they had been living together from the start, which made Minato smile. Kushina said, "What do you want to know about me, Naru? Can you tell me everything, since your childhood in Whirlpool Country?" said Naruto. Kushina gave a nod. "Well, it will be a long story. It stars when was born." For the remainder of the day, Kushina and Minato discussed their lives with Naruto. The following day, they continued in the same manner, taking breaks for meals and family games while remaining oblivious to events occurring outside their house. Kushina was sharing with Naruto the story of what transpired between her and Minato upon their graduation in the afternoon of the third day. Then Minato was struck in the head by Naruto. "Ouch, why have you done it?" Minato asked, irritated. "How could you have thought that mom was a boy? Look at her, she is the most beautiful woman in the world," said Naruto. Kushina was laughing, recalling the moment Minato discovered her gender when they heard a knock on the door. Minato gave Naruto the order, "Go open the door while I go get my mask." Hinata Hyuga, on the other side of the door, was unaware of the surprise that was waiting for her. Hinata swallowed as she gazed at the Uzumaki residence's door. She was concerned about Naruto because he didn't show up at the academy in the last few days. She gazed at the large bento box containing the food she had prepared for Naruto and his father. It was her first visit to their new home, and according to the courtesy rules, good neighbors were required to bring a gift to the new neighbors on their first visit, usually some food. Her shyness surfaced when she saw the door, and she felt forced to turn away and return home, but she was able to push her fears aside. She recalled the last few days of her life. The trip to Suna, Naruto's encounter and friendship with Gaara, rescuing him from the genjutsu that forced him to murder his new friend, the fight with Shukaku, etc. The thought of defeating the one-tailed Biju made her shudder every time she thought about that creature. She still had nightmares in which Shukaku showed up and buried her in sand, and she couldn't believe how fortunate they were to live to tell it. A tiny part of her now understood why the villagers warned their kids to avoid Naruto. He had a monster inside of him that was even more dangerous than the Tanuki, but that didn't justify their cruel treatment of him. Perhaps he would have become an even more terrible monster if they had been crueler to him. Putting those ideas out of her head, Hinata considered what had transpired after they had rescued Gaara. They learned of a parallel battle between Naruto's father and another Jinchuriki. After Akatsuki attacked and took Gaara, Naruto's father and his allies saved him with the aid of Temari, Kankuro, Shino, and Shikamaru. They also succeeded in reviving the Sandaime Kazekage following the deaths of the Yondaime Kazekage and 2 Akatsuki members. Since the rest of the world thought that the Yondaime Kazekage had sacrificed himself to bring back his predecessor, Shikamaru told her and Naruto the real story, and they vowed to keep it a secret. The people of Konoha were already aware of the fights when they got back. Her family barraged her and Neji with inquiries, and they gave the best explanations they could. Despite not expressing it, the elders ultimately appeared pleased with their performance in the battle. Nevertheless, Hinata felt uneasy as her sister Hanabi now regarded her with wonder and admiration. She was still unaccustomed to compliments, and the bashful Hyuga had never experienced admiration from anyone before. The body of Uncle Hazashi was then returned by Kumogakure. She brought up the funeral, which was attended by every member of the clan from both branches. When the coffin came down to the hole, she was shocked to see that Neji and her father were about to cry. The most unexpected event, though, was when Kyoko, Neji's mother, emerged from her seclusion in the branch house to attend the funeral. Hinata later discovered that her aunt was her mother's younger sister, and it was the first time she had seen her. Her resemblance to Hanabi was striking. Neji formally presented his mother to Hanabi and her following the funeral. Last but not least, Jiraiya-sama and Lady Tsunade joined Naruto and his father when they returned. Jiraiya-sama was subsequently given the name Godaime Hokage. She thought it was a little odd that her father's first action after hearing the news was to order guards to be stationed at the clan's onsen. The biggest surprise, however, was when Naruto recommended her to Lady Tsunade, who asked her to become one of her apprentices. She would now have to spend half of her academy time learning medic ninjutsu techniques, along with the other apprentices. She was initially a little worried that they would abandon the full-time academy students, but Lady Tsunade assured them that the opposite would occur. Although Hinata was thrilled about the prospect of learning something specific to help people rather than harm them, she was afraid that her father would reject her request to change her educational program because the Hyugas were known for being a warrior clan. Flashback. Hiyashi examined the document in which Tsunade explained the training program Hinata would undergo and requested his permission to accept her as one of her disciples. It was well known that many Hyugas did not view medic ninjas as true ninjas, but rather as a support system for the real ones, so Hinata was concerned about his reaction. After carefully reviewing the modifications her academic training would bring about, her father finally informed her of his choice. He gazed into her eyes. He was asked, "Hinata, do you really want to be a medic nin?" In a very serious tone, she replied, "Why yes, father, I would love to be one. If you let me study under Tsunade, I'll promise you that you won't be disappointed." Looking at his daughter, the elder Hyuga was taken aback by her firm response. One thought was, so, she really wants it. Very well, I'll allow you to become a medic nin if it doesn't interfere with your development in the Hyuga arts. As long as you manage to progress as a Juken user without problem, you can do the same as medic nin in parallel. Just remember this, your Juken is your main priority. If you can't take both trainings, you'll have to renounce medic training, Hiyashi replied. Hinata squealed as if she were a toddler again as she gave her father a hug, thrilled by his response. She cried out, "Thank you. Thank you, Dad," before recognizing what she was doing. Hiyashi thought, the last time she behaved in this way, her mother was still alive. Hinata let her dad go. Hinata reverted to her normal self and apologized, saying, Sorry, father. I shouldn't have done it." Since it was viewed as a sign of weakness in a clan of emotion readers like Hyugas, Hiyashi felt bad for teaching Hinata not to make those expressions of affection. He missed the time when Hinata wasn't the clan heiress and was just his little girl. "There's not need to apologize, Hinata. This wouldn't be nothing compared with the elders' reaction when I tell them about my decision," Hiyashi replied. What if they refuse to accept it?" Hinata inquired anxiously. "Don't worry about that, they will have to accept it." Neji also received an offer from Tsunade for being her disciple, but he rejected it. If we refused another offer from her, it could be seen as an insult to the Senju clan. It would be also an insult to the Uzumaki clan because they recommended you. In fact, receiving training from the legendary Tsunade is an honor and many of them will see it like that, Hiyashi replied with a calculating grin. Final flashback. Hinata took a deep breath, glanced at the door, and knocked. She heard voices coming from the other side as she knocked. She recognized Naruto's father's voice as asking, "Ouch. Why have you done it?" She recognized Naruto's voice as saying, "How could you have thought that mom was a boy? Look at her, she is the most beautiful woman in the world." Hinata briefly believed she heard a woman laughing inside the house, but she was unable to verify it. Naruto's face lit up when he opened the door a few seconds later and saw it was her. "Hello, Hinata. Nobody came here to visit us before. I'm glad to see that you are the first one. I have something wonderful to tell you," said Naruto with excitement. After practically dragging her inside, Naruto shut the door. "Dad, it's Hinata and she came alone. There's no need to wear the mask," Naruto replied. Minato said, "Oh, it's you, Hinata. Welcome to our house," as he emerged from a door with a woman holding his hand. The young girl was taken aback by the woman who was grinning at her. The red-haired woman had the longest mane she had ever seen, reaching the back of her thighs. Her face and skin tone were those of a woman in her mid-20s, but her green eyes, which were stunning and resembled Naruto's in shape but color, told her that she was older than she looked. When Hinata's father told her about the mission, he gave her a picture of a person who looked exactly like her. With amazement, one thought, she is the exact replica of Naruto-kun's mother. Her voice trailed off, who is she? Without incident, Naruto led Hinata to his parents by taking her by the hand. Unaware that Kushina's eyes were fixed on Hinata's, Naruto said, "Hinata-chan, this is my mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Mom, this is my best friend Hinata Hyuga." A squealing Kushina embraced Hinata before she could respond. As Kushina squeezed the poor Hinata until she nearly choked, she exclaimed, "Hinata-chan. I'm so happy to see you. You don't know how much I have been craving for us finally meeting each other." As she struggled to breathe, Hinata thought, she is really Naruto's mother. But how? When Kushina realized she was going to murder the poor girl, she let her go. After catching her breath, Hinata turned to face Kushina, looking perplexed and a little afraid. Are you really alive? Naruto-kun told me that you died during the Kyuubi's attack." What happened?" murmured Hinata. After calming down, Kushina gave her a sad look and a small smile. It was immediately apparent to the young Hyuga that Naruto's mother had no desire to discuss it. But Kushina said something. The redhead remarked, "It is a very long story, Hinata-chan. It will be better if we take a seat." For the next hour, the Uzumakis tell Hinata about Kushina's existence as a ghost who takes care of Naruto as best she can, leaving out the most heartbreaking details and the fact that Kushina was aware of her spying on her son. Hinata was given an explanation by Kushina, Minato, and Naruto about how Kushina traveled back in time with Minato and how he became able to see her. Lastly, Hinata described how Minato created a new body for her and sealed her inside of him. At the conclusion of the story, Hinata broke down in tears because she could no longer contain it. To think that she couldn't touch her child, let him know he wasn't alone, and see how he suffered while being powerless to help him was the saddest thing Kushina had ever heard. Hinata felt unworthy of her desire for her son when she realized that she could have assisted Naruto and that she was capable of doing what Kushina was unable to. Nevertheless, she was extremely pleased for Naruto because she had both his mother and father back. She wasn't shocked that they hadn't left the house in the previous few days. Naruto undoubtedly wanted to get to know his mother. She was also moved by the tale of Minato and Kushina's love, which transcended both time and death. When they eventually reunite, they had been separated for nearly 20 years and were unable to touch one another. Now they were back together, closer than any couple could ever hope to be, sharing a piece of each other's soul. When she sensed that someone was starting to embrace her, she accepted the embrace and sobbed on the shoulder of the person. When Naruto embraced Hinata, he was uncomfortable because he didn't think Hinata would react so negatively to his mother's story. However, his mother whispered to him that Hinata probably reminded her of her own mother and that she was wondering why she didn't return the favor, so he had to comfort her. Naruto hurried to console Hinata after feeling bad for reminding her of that suffering. Hinata blushed and turned pink when she finally realized she was holding Naruto after she had calmed down. "Ah, aren't they cute, Min-kun? They make such a lovely couple." Kushina made sure they heard the comment. Hinata became flushed and realized she was making a terrible impression on them, while Naruto flushed. She excused herself, saying, "Gee gomen nasai. I shouldn't have behaved like that." "Why do you apologize, Hinata-chan? You just showed us that you are a very sensible and empathic person and this is not bad. I'm very happy to see that my little Naru has a friend who cares so much about him," Kushina said with a motherly grin. Disgusted, Naruto protested, "Mom, don't call me like that before others." Kushina started stroking Naruto's tender spots. As she tickled him close to the ribs, Kushina giggled and teased, "It's a mother's privilege to treat her children like they were still toddlers, no matter their age. Tell me, Naru-chan, is it my right or do I have to aim to the armpits?" Trying not to laugh, Naruto pleaded, Okay, I give up. You can call me like you want but please, stop." Instead, Hinata laughed at the scene because it appeared as though they had been together their entire lives, which was somewhat true. It's likely that Kushina knew more about Naruto than anyone else. Kushina's gaze shifted to Hinata. "Hinata-chan, you came there just in time. We were going to play some games that needed a fourth person. We were about to use a cage bunshin to do the job but with you there it wouldn't be necessary," Kushina replied. The older woman pulled Hinata to the main lounge of the house before she could speak. Because the Hyugas could read each other's personalities, Hinata had a slight advantage in some of the card games they played. Because of his extensive general knowledge, Minato had the upper hand when they skipped to quiz games. Naruto, on the other hand, performed exceptionally well in games that involved gambling, and Kushina did the same in games where guesswork was required. Later, they went to the house yard and engaged in more strenuous activities, such as the boys pulling a rope in opposite directions or running a race with one of the girls on their back, which caused Hinata to blush a lot. Hinata had one of her funniest days ever. The idea for the last game was a pair race in which competitors from the same team would hold an egg between their foreheads. The adults appeared to find it amusing that Hinata blushed so much for putting her face so close to Naruto's, assuming that her behavior was a result of the previous game's effort. Kushina said, "I wouldn't be shocked if their egg ended up being boiled at the end of the race." The entire house was used for the race. It initially appeared that Minato and Kushina would win, but she stumbled at the last second, allowing Naruto and Hinata to triumph. As they let their egg drop, Naruto exclaimed, "Yes! We won! Hinata, you are the best!" After realizing his error, he attempted to catch it but ultimately smashed it against Hinata's jacket. He apologized, saying, "Gomen nasasi, Hinata-chan. Still in awe of Naruto's final compliment, Hinata replied, It's nothing, Naruto-kun. Kushina dragged Hinata to the attic of the house and said, come with me so I could give you some clothes to change yourself. I have something from the time I was your age. After examining a chest, Kushina quickly removed a box bearing a tiny seal, which contained one of the most exquisite kimonos Hinata had ever seen. It was a red princess kimono with white flower designs and incredibly wide sleeves. Yes, this will fit you perfectly. It was from my childhood in Whirlpool Country. You can keep it for yourself, Kushina replied. Kushina-san, I can't accept a gift like this. It should be for a future daughter of yours, said Hinata. Please don't call me Kushina-san, I would love if you call me mom, so you wouldn't have any problem receiving the kimono, replied Kushina. Hinata blushed once more. She could only refer to Kushina in that way if she and Naruto started dating. Hinata's unease caught Kushina's attention. You can keep calling me Kushina if you like, but please, accept the kimono. It was made for beautiful girls like you, not for being stored in an attic, Kushina replied. With a nod, Hinata thanked Kushina for the wonderful present. As some demiclones made by Kushina took her soiled clothes and assisted her in dressing in the kimono, Hinata twitched her fingers, thinking, does she think that I'm beautiful? After they were done, she saw that Kushina had changed her hairstyle and was sporting another stunning kimono. Hinata gazed in awe of her former beauty. Why, you look really beautiful, Kushina-san. But, why did you change clothes too? She responded. Thank you. You look beautiful too, Hinata-chan, more than I when I was your age. I dressed like this because you are our guest and we must look presentable for the dinner. I can't wait to see if the food you brought us is as good as Naruto said, Kushina said as she entered the dining room. At Kushina's remark, Hinata blushed and smiled slightly, then followed her. They discovered Naruto and Minato, dressed in the Western attire they had worn to the Hyuga compound dinner, waiting for them. Minato thought, it's the same kimono you wore during our first date. She answered, yes, I knew you would love it. Although Naruto knew his mother, the last surviving member of the royal family, was a princess, he had never considered her to be one until he saw her dressed as one. Naruto was stunned by the girls. Additionally, Hinata looked more adorable and feminine than ever while wearing that kimono. Minato picked up one of Kushina's hair clips that had fallen to the floor. As he approached Kushina, he said, let me put it back, and Kushina nodded. After he was done, they exchanged a kiss and looked into each other's eyes. Hinata turned away, flushed, and Naruto followed suit. Hinata's dinner was a hit with them. Kushina was thrilled to discover how talented her future daughter-in-law was in the kitchen. Oh, Kami, this is delicious, the future Naruto was right, you would make a wonderful wife, said Kushina. Hinata nearly choked on her food, poor thing. Minato thought, I think you are playing matchmaker too quickly. Really, I didn't notice it, Kushina said, gazing innocently at her husband. Hinata made the hasty decision to shift the topic. Anyo, how are you going to explain your return to the village, Kushina-san? She responded. We almost have a reasonable explanation ready, Hinata-chan, we just need some external help. We also plan to be discreet about my return at the beginning, stated Kushina. After promising them that she would return, Hinata eventually left the Uzumaki residence after the dinner went smoothly. It was a day that would never be forgotten, and the girl grinned as she made her way home. She now played a female role with Kushina. But after the walk, she came to a realization. How I am going to explain about this clothing at home, wondered. Tsunade made her way to the office of the Hokage. As she walked through the well-known hallways, she reminded everyone that she was no longer the Hokage and that her teammate did not hold that title. She chuckled a little when, following hours of deliberation, Minato and she decided to suggest Jiraiya, claiming that he was the only person in the room who had never been Hokage and the first choice for Yondaime and Godaime. She heard some voices coming from the Hokage's office as she arrived at the door. Ah, perfect, Jiraiya's voice said. No, move it further to the right, be careful, it's getting crooked. Tsunade overheard Kotetsu and Izumo concurring with Jiraiya that it looked excellent. I see, he must be making a redecoration to the office. Probably he wants to be more comfortable in his new workplace. I'll lend him a hand, said the doctor. Seeing Jiraiya's improvements at the office, she opened the door and snarled. Posters and photographs of young women who shared the trait of being bare-chested covered the walls. The mega pervert put a TV with a video recorder and a copy holder filled with perverted tapes in the room in case the pictures weren't enough. The bookshelves containing a selection of perverted literature that Kakashi would kill for were the cherry on top. They look really nice, Azumo said, grinning perversely. Jiraiya wrote, yes, they are, especially this one, and pointed to a picture of a green-haired woman with a body that could rival Tsunade's. The room's temperature abruptly dropped significantly. Slowly, Jiraiya and his subordinates turned to see Tsunade's grave expression. Tsunade's expression nearly made Azumo and Katetsu wet their pants, especially when she looked directly at them. In a polite manner, he said, you two. Could you leave the room please? I have a very important thing to discuss with the Hokage. Alone. Jiraiya stared at the Chunins in despair as they quickly left the room. He cried as he thought, don't leave me alone. I'm your Hokage. Tsunade took hold of his neck. What the hell do you think you are doing? This is the Hokage's office. What do you think the clients would think about Konoha if they see this place decorated like a sex shop? Said Tsunade. Jiraiya, gasping for air, replied, I already thought about that. Please push the button below the D desk. Tsunade looked at the desk and discovered a red button that was cleverly hidden. When she pushed it, the picture walls completely changed appearance, looking as they had before Jiraiya decorated them. File drawers took the place of the TV in the holster. The room now had the same appearance as before. Tsunade let Jiraiya go as her perspiration evaporated. See Tsunade Heim. The clients will receive a proper impression from Konoha. You don't have to worry about it, Jiraiya replied. He gets a little glare from the medic Nin. Tsunade attempted to say, do what you want. I came here to tell you about a rumor that is circulating in town, they said that, before tripping over a roll of sticky tape. They ended up on top of the desk with Tsunade over Jiraiya after she unintentionally hustled her during her fall. 3 odd things occurred. When Jiraiya first noticed that Tsunade was leaping at him, he put his hands in a defensive position. As a result, when they ended over the desk, his hands unintentionally touched Tsunade's breasts. They looked at each other's eyes, blushing like a certain Hyuga girl, and their faces ended just a few centimeters apart. 3. At that very moment, Hiruzen Sarutobi entered the office. For a few seconds, he made a poker face while glancing at his former students. He didn't appear surprised because he had seen someone playing, moms and dads, on that desk before. When they were negotiating peace after the war, the first were Orochimaru and the daughter of a Suna diplomat. The day after he told the blonde that he would become Hokage, Minato and Kushina were the second ones. The third was Kaharu and Homura, his own teammates and counselors, a picture he would rather forget. It was surprisingly comfortable, and he knew that Asuma was conceived there, but he couldn't understand what kind of power that desk had to be used, that way. Tsunade rambled, this is not what it appears, sensei. Sarutobi thought, and what other thing could it be? As he looked at Jiraiya's twisted smile and suddenly realized where his hands were. Jiraiya let his imagination run wild while Tsunade hurriedly got up and cleaned her up. It was about time that these two ended together. They must be still in the phase where couples deny their relationship to other people. I'll be nice and change the subject, said Sarutobi. Anyways, I came here to ask you for permission to tell Sasuke Uchiha about that issue concerning his clan, said the former Kage. Jiraiya and Tsunade immediately forgot about the desk incident. Are you sure about this, sensei? In the future Sasuke proved to be mentally unstable, betrayed Konoha and became a dangerous criminal, Jiraiya replied. Sarutobi gave a nod. Yes, I'm aware of that, but he didn't become that Sasuke yet, we are in time to save him this time. When Minato told me about the things that happened in the future because I let Orochimaru escape, I feel that it is my responsibility to prevent them, Sarutobi replied. Jiraiya let out a sigh. I see that you are completely decided to go with it. Okay, you can go on with your project concerning the Uchiha. Talking about projects, how are things with the new medical program, Tsunade Heim? Jiraiya responded. When the topic was brought up, Tsunade's expression brightened. It is going better than I imagined. As you know, instead of taking rookie genins for trainings, I took academy students from the last classes. From Naruto's class 1 got Sakura, Ino and Hinata. At first I thought that Sakura would be still a useless fangirl because Sasuke was still in the village and she wouldn't have the motivation she had in the future about being strong fought bringing him back. But it looks like those events in Suna showed her how drawn away was her compared to others in reality. Something similar happened with Ino. However, Hinata is the most motivated, not surprising after Naruto said that he recommended her. From the last class one tried to recruit Neji but he refused, but I found a boy and girl who were very promising and I got a great surprise with Haku, who already had a vast knowledge of medicine and field experience. Tsunade smiled. Jiraiya and Sarutobi observed Tsunade's enthusiasm. Since Dan was still alive, they have never seen anything like that. I'm very glad, Haim. But, what do their families think about their children having their academic time cut for being subjected to an experimental program? Sarutobi responded. Well, Sakura's parents were very happy for her daughter receiving training from me to become a medic. They said that the knowledge she was going to get would let her work at the hospital when she finally realizes the risks of ninja life and retires as kunoichi. The parents of the students of the upper class had similar thoughts. The Yamanakas for their part promised that they would give Ino special training to heal psychological damage and make her a more complete ninja. Zabuza said that medic ninjutsu would be very useful for Haku. Finally the Hyugas accepted to have Hinata receiving medic training with the condition that it wouldn't interfere in her training in the Hyuga arts, that are the ones that really matter. With all the potential they have at their disposal and they are wasting it in their taijutsu style. Pompous ignorance, Tsunade grumbled. What do you mean? Jiraiya inquired. Tsunade approached the window and gave Konoha a look. Before Ninja Village were formed and clans were independent, clans had to train their own medic nins. Obviously most clans didn't have medic nins in their files and they had to rely on first aid and more traditional medicine. The few medic nins who were too valuable to risk their lives in battle and were kept in the clans as refuges. The Hyugas was the only clan that never had problem with scantiness of medic nins thanks to their very high chakra control. In fact their Byakugan let them make surprising discoveries about the human body and was a superb tool for diagnosis and healing. In fact ancient Hyuga medic nins were much better than most medic nins we have now in Konoha, Tsunade continued. What, if Hyugas has such potential as medic nins why there are not Hyuga medics now, replied Naruto. The reason was because Hyugas abandoned medic ninjutsu was their stupid pride. At the beginning they were a clan of trackers, healers and assassins. However everything changed when they developed the Juken. This fighting style was so effective that Hyugas were soon known, respected and admired as powerful fighters. They were so proud of Juken that they made it obligatory for all members. Medics were seen as weaklings and they only trained the minimum numbers required for the clan's survival. When the Hyuga clan joined the newly formed Konoha they renounced to have medic nins now that work would be done by the village's own medics. At least they decided to donate the scrolls with all the knowledge they accumulated to the village. Thanks to my position as the Shodai Hokage's granddaughter I had access to those scrolls and I became the medic nin I am now, Tsunade continued. As they considered it, Jiraiya, Sarutobi, Minato, Kushina, and Naruto gazed in surprise at the older blonde. It was Naruto who spoke first. That means that Hinata-chan could end surpassing you, isn't it? Naruto responded. Yes, it is. For that reason I have to make sure that she not only becomes a medic of remarkable skill, but also a powerful fighter. She would establish a good precedent and could make more Hyugas take the medic nin path, Tsunade replied. Kushina agreed with Naruto when he said, don't worry, Ba-chan, Hinata-chan will be so good that all Hyugas will be asking you to be your apprentices. Tsunade said, yes, I hope so, Naruto, Kushina. It wasn't until the elder ninjas started talking that they realized there were more people in the room. Sarutobi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade observed Naruto, Minato, and Kushina, with particular attention to the latter. Jiraiya rambled, K Kushina, is it really you? So the rumors I heard about Arashi having a wife are true. B but I never thought that it could be you, said Tsunade. The Sandame gave her a disinterested look. Sarutobi said, oh, hello Kushina. It's good to see you alive again. Everybody stared at him, perspiring. What? I saw a lot of strange things in my life. After one assumes that Minato resurrected in the future and traveled in time to this period bringing some allies with him it's very hard to be surprised with anything, said Sarutobi. The redhead hugged the former cage and giggled. Kushina, on the edge of tears, whispered, Ji-san, you are truly the god of shinobi. Thank you very much for taking care of my Naru all these years. You were a true inspiration for him. Sarutobi said, I'm very happy to see you alive too, as he relished the embrace. Then Kushina gave Tsunade a hug. Thank you for being so nice with Naruto in the future. You were the closest thing he had to a mother. If it is not a trouble, would you like to be his godmother? She asked. Tsunade rambled, I would be very honored. After giving Jiraiya a quick glance, Kushina opened her arms. Grinning, the pervert Cage approached her and prepared to give her a hug. But rather than an embrace, he got the worst kick in the nuts Konoha has ever seen. Stupid pervert, what the hell was I thinking when we chose you to take care of Naruto? Do you think that Minato was hard when you met him again? That's nothing compared to what I'm going to do with you, you censored pervert, said the brunette. Azumo and Kotetsu, meanwhile, heard Jiraiya's agonized screams as they were making their way back to the office. Kotetsu remarked, "Oh my. Tsunade-sama is still pounding him. I think that we should go into the hospital, reserve a room and tell the doctors to be prepared," Azumo replied. Naruto discovered that day why Shikamaru and Kiba were so terrified of their mothers in times of rage. Day after, Ebisu turned to face the other people in the room. The Hokage sent him a message a few minutes ago instructing him to attend a confidential meeting at the Uzumaki residence. A demiclone who resembled a young maid greeted the special Jonin with a smile and brought him a drink after Naruto welcomed him and escorted him to the main hall of the house. The remaining people who had been called to the meeting were being attended by additional maids. The woman he met that morning was far more attractive than the girls. She was a stunning woman with green eyes and long red hair. Even though he would never acknowledge it, Ebisu could assume that he knew who the most attractive women in Konoha were, and that one was unquestionably a new face. She strongly reminded him of someone he knew, but he was unable to identify them. She spoke to Konohamaru as if she had known him for ages. Seeing his opportunity, Ebisu introduced himself as Konohamaru's teacher and invited her to lunch, explaining that women gravitated toward men who were kind to children. Regretfully, the woman excused herself by stating that she was going to have lunch with her husband and son. As she was leaving, Konohamaru loudly remarked that he should use more effective ways to get a date, as she was the fourth woman to refuse to go with them. The indiscreet honorable grandson was scheduled to have some very interesting training sessions the following week. As he adjusted his glasses, he considered the reason for the meeting. Maybe it had to do with the rumors that Arashi Uzumaki, who was actually the Yondaime, had remarried. Ebisu was the first person to enter the meeting room, but others soon followed. Among them was the Anbu called Bear. Hiyashi pondered the house's copyright core as he considered the most recent occurrences. Hinata was not the kind of girl who spent her money on such things, and regardless, she could not have afforded the pricey kimono she wore home last night with her payment. Ultimately, his bashful daughter revealed that it was a gift from the Uzumaki family, which had originally belonged to Naruto's mother. They gave it to her because no one in their household needed it. If Hinata's clothes had been ordinary ones, the elders would have freaked out because Hyugas wouldn't take second-hand items from people like they were a family with financial difficulties. However, Lady Miho claimed that the kimono was something entirely different. In addition to being a stunning work of art, it was most likely the most valuable item of clothing that girls Hinata's age could currently purchase in Konoha. Furthermore, it belonged to a former royal family and was inherited. It was a great honor for the Hyugas to receive such a gift. The women congratulated a blushing Hinata at the end, and Hanabi gazed at her with a jealousy that vanished as soon as she learned that the kimono would one day belong to her. The Hyuga leader glanced at the other people in the room, including the special Jonin Ebisu, who was currently speaking with a civilian man who appeared to be the proprietor of a ramen stand, and the Chunin teacher Yumino Iruka, who was speaking with his girlfriend Mitarashi Anko. There were more people there. When Hiyashi saw that the other attendees included Nara Shikamaru, Aburame Shino, Yamato, Hatake Kakashi, Momochi Zabuza, his son Momochi Haku, the Anbu captain Neko, who was actually Azuki Yugao, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, Senju Tsunade and her student Shizune, and finally a heavily bandaged Jiraiya, the Godaime and actual Hokage, with 3 toads. Hiyashi appeared taken aback. Hiyashi identified them as Gamabunta, Shima, and Fukasaku. A titanic summons like the Toad Chief, who was as big as a typical toad, was uncommon but required if they wished to hold the meeting in secret. He was utterly perplexed to discover that the 3 individuals Naruto brought into the room were his sister-in-law Kyoko, his nephew Neji, and his oldest daughter Hinata. Hinata seemed shocked to see them there as well, and she seemed to know something. Maybe they should talk at home. He glanced at the other visitors. Why were these individuals called? What do he and a time traveler like Shikamaru have in common? And he understood. As he gazed at his relatives, the Hyuga thought, wait. Everyone here knows Arashi Uzumaki's secret. Does it mean that Hinata, Neji, and Kyoko know about it too? We are going definitely to have a chat at home, believed. At last, a red-headed woman and Arashi appeared holding hands. Naruto was present with the couple. Hiyashi instantly recognized the woman as his wife. That's impossible. Ebisu gazed at them with utter pallor, while Ichiraku Tsuki gazed at her as if he had seen a ghost. The Hokage stepped in. Finally, everybody is here. Many of you noticed that we are among the ones who know who is Arashi Uzumaki in reality. The only absents are our allies from Suna and Mice's Anbu squad. I assume that you also heard about some rumors concerning Arashi's civil status. That's the main reason because we are here. Minato, you can take off your mask. Same goes for the rest of the masked ones. This is not an Anbu convention, Jiraiya continued. After removing his mask, Arashi revealed his identity as Minato Namikaze. Yugao also captured her, showcasing her stunning face. The other members of the Hand of Death, for instance, were all curious about Kakashi and disappointed to see that he wore a second mask over his usual one. The last to remove his was Hiyashi. Chi-Tusen, blurted Hinata, who was utterly taken aback upon seeing her father. Neji said, Hiyashi-sama, while attempting to preserve the composter. Kyoko said, good evening, brother-in-law, before turning to face someone else. He was a living reminder of her late husband and the one who ought to have died at Hizashi's house, so Hiyashi was not shocked by her actions. He wasn't shocked to learn that Neji and Kyoko were aware of Minato. The former Kage likely believed that his friend's family should be aware that Hizashi was doing well in the afterlife. Nevertheless, the Hyuga leader was unable to provide an explanation for why his daughter was also aware of the secret. He would talk to his familiars for a long time. Everyone's attention was drawn to Minato and the person beside him as he started speaking. Some of you already recognized her. For the rest, let me introduce you to my wife Kushina Uzumaki, Minato responded. Hello everyone, I'm Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's mom and Minato's wife. And I am not a ghost. I'm completely alive and back. It's a very long story, smiled at Kushina. Tsuki, on the edge of tears, rambled, Kushina. It's really you. Yes, it's me, old man. She cried as she gave the startled chef a hug. He whispered to his ears, thank you very much for being so nice with my Naruto. I'll never forget it. He blushed slightly and replied, it was nothing. Just make sure to visit my stand a pair of times a week and I'll be happy. Iruka gave her a dumbfounded look. The teacher questioned, you are really Naruto's mother? Kushina gave him another hug in return. Yes I am, Iruka-sensei. Thank you very much for bear up with my son's mischiefs and caring for him, she replied. I was just doing my job. Iruka blushed and replied. Enko joked, stop embracing my man. You already have yours and he seems to be the jealous type. As she spoke, Kushina continued to greet each person in a similar manner. Ebisu was nervous and completely white. As she greeted him, he acted very courteously. I tried to flirt with the Yondaime's wife. If she tells him I'm dead, feared. Shikamaru had the urge to smoke. Shino finally showed everyone how his eyes looked after taking off his glasses and checking to make sure they weren't deceiving him. To the dismay of all, the Aburame only had black almond eyes rather than segmented ones like a bug or a pair of holes where Kikai bugs could be seen. The other guests simply stared at Kushina in shock and disbelief. Haku questioned, weren't you supposed to be dead, Lady Kushina? She grinned as she glanced at the boy. Yes I was, Haku-kun. I was going to explain everything now. But please, call me Aunt Kushina, we have a distant relationship but a relationship after all, she replied. The boy gave a reluctant nod. Despite knowing that his family was related to the Senju and Uzumaki clans, he spent a significant portion of his life working as a farmer and still felt somewhat alienated when reminded of his roots. At last, Kushina started sharing her story. Time travel, Minato's acquired ability to see ghosts, her death, her existence as a ghost caring for Naruto, a synopsis of the alternate timeline, her future return, the ceiling, and, lastly, the construction of her new body by fusing the 5 elements with the consequence of the link between them. Since only her family was concerned, she only skipped the story's most private or upsetting passages. Nearly everyone's eyes were watering when she was done. While the men unsuccessfully attempted to appear untouchable, the women hurried to embrace Kushina. Despite knowing the story in advance, Naruto and Hinata were also crying, with Hinata sobbing on Naruto's chest, which Hiyashi found upsetting. What? I should be the one consoling my girl, not you. Well, you are affected too and you are not taking advantage of the situation so I'll let you pass this time, Hiyashi thought as she wept. Haku said, Zizabuza-sama, are you crying too? With tears in her eyes, Zabuza said, and no. It's just because the smoke in the room. Isn't it, Tenzo-san? With tears streaming down his face, Tenzo answered, yeah. We should have opened a window. Gamabunta spoke while sobbing, it's my fault. I overcharged the pipe. Jiraiya turned to face his wife and student. They were asked, Minato, Kushina. Let me write a book about your story, please. As soon as he finished speaking, the room was filled with a sense of murderous intent. Wait, it won't be a book about you, just a book about a couple where one of them dies, turns into a ghost to protect the other. I'll make enough changes that nobody could relate the book to you, and I promise that I won't add unnecessary bed scenes, Jiraiya said with a defensive tone. The thought was, just the needed ones. The couple from Uzumaki appeared to relax. Do what you want, Jiraiya. But before publishing anything you'll give us the original in order to get our approval, Minato replied. Kushina concluded by saying, and get ready to face the consequences if we don't like what we read. As many of the ninjas put it, impressive. That link they lets them share their thoughts if they want. Jiraiya made the decision to shift the topic. Minato, could you show me the room with the seals that you used to revive Kushina? Perhaps you didn't realize it, but creating a blood clone you managed to accomplish something that even Sage of the Six Paths himself couldn't manage to do it with all his power, Jiraiya responded. Sorry, but we decided to delete the seals and then wall in the room. We realized that somebody like Orochimaru could achieve immortality if he got access to the secrets that said room contained just by cloning himself and transferring his soul in the process. It's a secret too dangerous to exist, Minato replied. Jiraiya agreed with Minato after seeing the logic in his statements. In actuality, Minato simply painted over the door of the room and added a wall. The seals remained intact for a while in case they were needed again. All clans were required to keep their secrets secret, and pretending that they were being destroyed was a good way to keep a secret that had already been revealed. Kushina was confronted by Tsunade. You should let me do a medical check to you and see how your cloned body really is, how it work and its capabilities. I'm not telling this only because medical curiosity, but we should also check if you could have a health problem that you didn't find about, said Tsunade. Kushina concurred. Yes, it would be nice, but I don't think you would find anything wrong. With this body I feel healthier, more energetic and more alive than with my original one, Kushina replied. Shizune stepped in. Kushina-san, I have a question. How are you going to tell the village about your return? I also realized that you look about your mid-20s but you are supposed to be in your latest 30s, said the young lady. Kushina gave her a perceptive smile. Minato and I already thought about that, but we will need some help to make a believable our story, Kushina replied. What kind of help? Jiraiya inquired. Well, for your part you only have to summon the council tomorrow, where I'll come up in order to clarify those rumors about my return. And remind them that Konoha messed with the wrong mother, said with an angry expression. Jiraiya swallowed, recalling the thrashing he had received from Kushina. He felt sorry for the council for the first time in his life. Room of council, next evening. As Kaharu and Homura took their seats, they became aware that they were the first people to arrive at the meeting. Jiraiya informed them a while back that a special meeting with the council would be held to discuss some of the most recent happenings in the village. The sage informed them that the Fire Lord himself would be present at the meeting because it would cover such significant issues. Since Konoha's best client would be present, the remaining councilors showed up at the room dressed in finery, at least for the civilians. The majority of ninjas simply wore brand new or immaculate uniforms. Only the most traditional clans, such as Hyuga Hiyashi or the Kurama clan representative, had their ninjas dressed to the nines. Amui Shizio, the historian who brought Orochimaru to everyone's attention, was also present. Sarutobi Asuma and two of his own advisors arrived after the Fire Lord at last. With Asuma behind him and his advisors on either side, the Lord took one of the table's heads. As long as the daimyo remained in Konoha, Asuma would be directly under his command rather than the Hokages, as the ninjas saw that he was wearing the bandana that designated him as one of the Guardians of Fire. The advisors were uncomfortable with the Lord's presence. It was related to the rumors that Kushina Uzumaki was still alive. The issue started when that Orochimaru wannabe disclosed that the Senju clan was descended from the brat's mother, the last living member of Whirlpool Country's royal family. The Uzumaki's relationship with one of the village's founding clans shocked the Konoha people, but the existence of a descendant of Whirlpool Country's rulers worried the Fire Country's rulers more. Whirlpool Country's territory seamlessly merged with Fire Country's following the final Ninja War, and there was peace for many years. That tranquility could be disrupted by the presence of a descendant of those rulers. The Fire Lord summoned Sarutobi, who was still Hokage at the time, to a meeting after learning that the Kyuubi container was said to be descendant. The Sandaime was able to persuade the Lord that the child's goal was to become a ninja and become Hokage, rather than to become another feudal lord. The Lord wouldn't have to worry about the boy if the advisors agreed with him. However, a woman who fit Kushina Uzumaki's description showed up the day before yesterday and attacked any women who wanted to go on a special mission with Arashi, claiming that he was hers and that he recognized her as his wife. It was clear that the Lord ultimately made the decision to explain the situation with the Uzumakis on his own and attended the meeting to do so. They were distracted when they noticed Sarutobi Hiruzen, Senju Tsunade, and Uzumaki Arashi with Hokage Jiraiya. Nobody, especially the elders, failed to notice that Jiraiya had taken the seat designated for the Uzumaki clan, leaving the seat empty. He sat at the other head of the table, with Tsunade and Sarutobi at his sides and Arashi behind him. Hokage-sama, why Uzumaki-san is not taking a seat and why Tsunade-sama and Sandaime-sama are on your sides, replied Homura. Jiraiya gave them a serious glance. It's very simple. I decided to appoint my predecessor and my old teammate as my new advisors. Sarutobi-sensei as the former Hokage knows better than anyone about the Hokage job Konoha's internal affairs. Tsunade-hime by her part, has a great knowledge of how things are outside Konoha thanks to the years she spent traveling through the elemental nations. She is also the best person to take the role of Hokage if something happened to me, so it is wise to listen to her advice, Jiraiya said. The former teammates of Sarutobi went pale. Kaharu rambled, that means that we are fired. Yes, you are. I want to thank you for all your years of loyal service to the village advising to Sarutobi-sensei. I realized that it would too inhuman to ask you to do the same for me at your age, for that reason I named new advisors. I didn't tell you before because I wanted to give you a surprise. You will keep your seats at the council as representative of your clans, but you won't have to take the load of work that comes with the advisor job. I even organized a farewell party after the meeting, Jiraiya innocently replied. The former advisors were taken completely by surprise and were unsure of how to object. They couldn't claim that their successor wasn't qualified for the position, since that would imply that they declared themselves superior to both a former Kage and a candidate for the position of Kage. I feel very honored, Hokage-sama. I'm glad to see that I can leave my duty knowing that it will be in such competent hands, Homura said with a demeanor. According to Kaharu, same goes for me. I don't have words to express my feelings. Danzo said, what about Arashi-san? Oh yes, Arashi-san. You know, when I got this job and read the summaries of the last council meetings, I noticed that in the last 3 meetings there were a demise by heart attack, an aborted coup d'etat that ended with a councillor with his heart literally ripped from his body, and a failed assassination attempt that ended with the perpetrator executed. For that reason I decided to use Arashi Uzumaki, my personal bodyguard, during the meetings, Jiraiya replied. Everyone's perspiration stopped. In addition to being the primary cause of those fatalities, Arashi was now going to be in charge of meeting security. Okay, now that everything is settled, we can start with the main reason I called for this gathering. As you know, we are here to clarify the latest rumors concerning a certain clan of this village. Anybody wants to say something about it? Jiraiya responded. A number of the councillors put up their hands. Although many of the councillors in attendance were not the typical representatives, Sarutobi observed that the surrogates designated by each clan in the event that the representative was unavailable were. One of those surrogates, a man in his late 20s, received the word from Jiraiya. Hokage-sama, is it true that you are going to take Naruto Uzumaki as your apprentice? He responded. Yes, it's true, was Jiraiya's somewhat surprised response, as that was not the question he had anticipated. The surrogate councillors were taken aback by Jiraiya's affirmation and seemed unconcerned about expressing their disgust. The ordinary councillors ignored Jiraiya's remarks and concentrated on Arashi instead. I see. The usual representatives were too scared of Minato and send these fools who didn't witness how thin-skinned he is with anything that could concern his son. Poor fools. Sarutobi reflected. The councillor in disguise stood up. He attempted to say, Hokage-sama, I must tell you that you made a bad decision. There are better choices, like, before being raised a few centimeters off the ground and starting to choke and act as though someone was choking him. The councillors saw that Arashi was making a squeezing motion with his right hand. Is your lack of faith in your new Hokage disappointing? Arashi asked, squeezing harder, turning the councillor purple. Are you questioning the Hokage's decision? Or are you trying to sabotage my son's instruction? Anyways. Jiraiya commanded. Arashi, that's enough. Release him. Arashi gave the counselor a nod and ordered his Fuden clone to stop strangling him. After giving Arashi a terrified look, the other surrogate counselors chose to keep their thoughts to themselves. Danzo muttered an expletive. He had not anticipated the situation. He believed that Jiraiya's carefree demeanor and advisors, Kaharu and Homura, would make him easy to control. However, he had to put Tsunade and Sarutobi in their proper places. In addition, he had to use the elder Uzumaki as his bodyguard during the meetings. With Jiraiya's ruthless Black Angel looking at them, nobody would dare question her choices. Jiraiya's gaze shifted to the council members. Now that my right to choose my own disciples has been confirmed, we can go and clarify the other rumor. As you know, a person matching with the description of my bodyguard's deceased wife has appeared in Konoha. That's the reason because our honored daimyo is here, the Godime stated. The Fire Lord gave a nod. Jiraiya gave Arashi a look. All right, bring her here, he said. Arashi nodded, walked out of the room, and returned a few seconds later with a red-haired woman in a very ornate kimono that was reminiscent of the ones his wife and daughters wore. The woman's beauty captivated many men, and women gazed at her with mild jealousy. She was the tomboyish kunoichi who used to hang out with Minato Namikaze, but the ninjas hardly recognized her. With a smile, Jiraiya captured their full attention. Ladies, gentlemen, let me introduce yourselves to Lady Kushina Uzumaki, last descendant of Whirlpool Country's royal family and kunoichi of Konoha, said the Sannin. She grimaced icily as she looked at them. Before assuming the seat designated for the Uzumakis, the speaker said, "Thank you, Hokage-sama. I would salute the rest, but I don't have a reasonable motive to do so." People started murmuring and whispering. Kaharu stood up. Wait a moment, wasn't she supposed to be dead? Where was she all these years? Are you going to tell us that she lost her memory as her husband? How do we know that she is really who she proclaims? Asked the elderly lady. She sensed that the younger woman was trying to kill her. I was critically injured while defending this village against the Kyuubi. My husband found me when I was about to die and managed to keep me alive in secret until Tsunade Heim finally healed me, stated Kushina. Her words were followed by more murmurs. Shibi Aburame said, "Pardon me, but could someone please provide us with a more thorough explanation?" Fuin Jutsu, was Arashi's statement. Everyone's eyes were on him. She was almost dead, she would have died if I had taken her to the hospital in that state. Using Fuin Jutsu I managed to seal her into a scroll, keeping her in a stasis where time didn't pass so her state didn't aggravate. It also kept her from aging. The reason she looks like time didn't pass to her is because literally it didn't pass. Her body is still in her 20s, Arashi stated. There were more murmurs. Fuin Jutsu can do that, a civilian said. That means that a ninja enough skilled in sealing whose teammates are injured could seal them, finish the mission if he could, and then return to Konoha, where the medical team would have all the time they needed to prepare the procedure, said Shikaku Nara. Everyone was stunned and silent after hearing that remark. Konoha would have a significant edge over the competing villages if more ninjas were able to accomplish that. In a spiteful tone, Kushina remarked, I thought Konoha would be more aware of its potential after that day. Most ninjas only see Fuin Jutsu as a mean to store equipment. When Arashi started to show off his abilities after returning to Konoha, no one responded, and they saw the potential. Kushina caught the Fire Lord's attention. He saw that she didn't like the village, and that might be a bad thing. Could you tell us what are you planning to do? Lady Kushina replied. For a brief moment, Kushina fixed her violet eyes on him, then on the other members of the council. She said something. First of all, you should know more about my situation. From my point of view, it has been only a few days since I was pregnant and I became a mother. Since my husband and I decided to offer our son to save this ungrateful village. Since I decided to join the defense of the village, although I was still weak from the delivery, since I almost died for this village, stated while looking at them. No one spoke, and many of them turned away so they wouldn't feel judged by those eyes. Quote, I woke up to find out that 11 years passed. To find out that my husband spent the last years wandering through the world trying to regain his memories. To find out that I lost my son's childhood. To find out that he has been living on his own without knowing about his parents. To find out that this council sabotaged all attempts to adopt him. To find out that Minato's request was ignored, the hero of this village dishonored. To find out that my son who should have been treated as a hero was treated like he had the plague. Tell me, what do you think I should do? Asked Kushina as she gazed at the terrified council. Eyes. Since the start of her tirade, no one has taken notice of the subtly lethal intent she was evoking. Except for those who were aware of the truth, every counselor was terrified when she was done. Kushina stood up. Her beauty and the atmosphere she produced gave the impression that she was a goddess who had come to Earth to judge people. She said it again. Years ago, after I lost my family, I decided to not reclaim my birthright as the last heiress of Whirlpool and let my country be integrated into Fire Country and be under the protection of Konoha. For that reason I decided to become a kunoichi to protect everyone and let them live happy. I found out that this village has been trying to deny my son this happiness after all the sacrifices we have made for them. Why should be my family part of a place like that? Inquired. No one spoke. Why shouldn't I go and declare the independence of Whirlpool Country where my son would be treated not only as a human being, but also as a prince? I'm sure that the inhabitants of my former kingdom would receive us with open arms after they find out what happened and would be willingly to fight for their freedom, she replied. Everyone went pale when they saw how easily this woman could start a civil war in Fire Country. Danzo stood up. Do you think you could threaten us like that? Your husband is powerful but he is no match for the combined forces of all Konoha ninjas, the Warhawk replied. Arashi burst out laughing. Everyone's eyes were on him. That's true, but we wouldn't be alone. As Jiraiya's disciple, my son signed the Toad contract this morning. Gamabunta is not very fond of the village after what they did to Minato's memory. The Toads would be very happy to help us among many others, Arashi said to Tsunade. Right, was her response. What? Danzo exclaimed, shocked. The Uzumakis, being the ascendants of the Senju, are the closest thing I have to a family and it was one of them who convinced me to come back to Konoha, said the brunette Sanin. Numerous counselors gazed at Jiraiya, anticipating his response. Unfortunately I wouldn't be able to intervene, most my techniques are dependent to my binding with the Toads. As part of the contract I vowed to fight their enemies. If a conflict between them and Konoha happened I would have to renounce being Hokage and join them, Jiraiya stated with his shoulders raised. The Fire Lord and the counselors went pale. A fictitious uprising in the Whirlpool region would have a genuine chance of succeeding if the Jiraiya and Tsunade were on their side. Many started to object, but Kushina's declaration of her intention to kill brought them back into focus. I never said that I was going to start a war, it was just one of my possible choices to punish Konoha, she replied. They were somewhat reassured by those words, but they were then forced to consider their other options. Respectfully, a civilian said, what are those possible C choices, Kushina-sama? Minato thought, great, they finally recognized your political influence, my love. Yes, I can't wait to see their faces when they hear this, she thought. She gave the counselor a look. Do you know that the red spiral most Konoha ninjas wear is in reality Whirlpool Country's symbol and it was adopted by the Senju to honor their homeland, don't you? She inquired. When they acknowledged Zabuza as a leaf nin, everyone nodded and Shizio Amui, who was also present, gave an explanation. Well, the Senju could use the symbol because we Uzumakis gave them permission. We are within our right to cancel that permission, she replied. What? Everyone exclaimed. Shizio said, Ku. She is right. Everyone's eyes were on the historian. According to ancient heraldry laws, as member of Whirlpool's royal family, she would be perfectly within her rights to ask for the retirement of the red spiral in Konoha. Not only that, she could ask the same with the spiral in the leaf symbol, the one that appear in all forehead protectors. Ku, said Shizio with a chuckle. The majority of ninjas cover their forehead protectors with their hands in a protective manner. Additionally, Kushina had the power to rob Konoha of their identity, which was as terrible as a civil war. She said, you are very lucky. Everyone's eyes were on her. You were lucky that my son loves this village more than I ever had. When I said him about the things I could do he asked me to forget about it, that he forgave you all and wanted to start again from scratch with the villagers. I won't take retaliation towards the village. I'm also going to retake my duty as kunoichi. I want you to remember this, we won't tolerate more crap from the village. Now if you excuse me, I would like to leave, she replied. Jiraiya gave her a nod and walked away. After asking Jiraiya if he could accompany her, Arashi left the room, leaving a Kage Bunshin in his place. Given the daimyo's customary calm demeanor, the Fire Lord's expression of rage as he addressed Konoha's council was extremely unusual. What kind of idiots has this village? If you followed the Yondaime's request, none of this would have happened. Now this land's stability depends on the opinion that an angry mother has for this village. We are lucky that her son wants to be the leader of this village and saved you again, said the Lord. While they congratulated themselves on the success of their plan, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Sarutobi did their best to appear affected. Minato and Kushina exited the room, entered an empty room, and kissed each other. She said, "They really fell for it. Yes, now nobody will dare to oppose him when Naruto would be ready to become Hokage. By the way, you looked really sexy when you scared them," he said. With a giggle, Kushina kissed him again. They departed the room following a makeup session. "Now we should go to train and prepare myself to rejoin Konoha's ninja forces," she said. Minato gave a nod. "Yes, the village already saw your political power. Now it's time to show them your power as a kunoichi." Iruka gazed at the ancient structure, recalling the past. This structure served as the testing ground for advanced genins from Konoha to determine their suitability as chunins prior to the ninja village's decision to transform the chunin exams into a war simulation. This location was useless and abandoned when peacetime arrived and the cages decided to hold a global chunin exam every semester. Actually, the last Konoha ninja to make chunin there was Iruka. He saw that the structure had recently undergone renovations. What was happening? He surmised that Jiraiya-sama chose to use it again for particular tests. It has been 1 week since he met Jiraiya. He and Anko went to training ground number 47, only to discover a note instructing them to go to the old examination building. They met Kushina en route to the location, who was also going there. Since he was aware that the ex-ghost kunoichi had no female friends upon her return, he was happy to see that Anko and Kushina were close friends. Anko introduced Shizune and herself to her circle of friends, which included Sume Inuzuka, Kurenai Yuhi, Yugao Azuki, and herself the strongest kunoichi in Konoha. He wagered that Sume and Kurenai already knew Kushina's secret. When they entered the structure, they discovered that it was a forest recreation with a tower in the middle. It looks like a small recreation of the Forest of Death, minus for the small clearings, Anko thought. The instructor glanced at Kushina. "Why are you here, Lady Uzumaki? Did you come to watch the test?" he replied. Kushina shook her head in denial. "No, I came to make the required test that all off-duty ninjas must do before return to active service. I had to retire years ago because my pregnancy. And please don't call me Lady Kushina, you are going to make me feel like an old woman like Tsunade," replied Kushina. "I heard you," Tsunade's irate voice exclaimed. Kushina nervously glanced around her, trying to find Tsunade. "We are watching you from the tower with the cameras which are strategically distributed by the building," Jiraiya's voice said. At last, the ninjas became aware of the tiny cams concealed in the foliage. Jiraiya's voice was solemn. "Yumi no Iruka, Chunin of Konohagakure. Mitarashi Anko, Tokubetsu Jonin of Konohagakure. You are there to be tested and prove that you are ready to be ranked as Jonins of Konoha. Your main objective in this test will consist in fighting the ninja groups who are dispersed and hidden in the forest. Those ninjas are ranked from Chunin to Jonin, but you won't be guess who are you fig thing because all of them will keep their identities in secret. You don't have to defeat all the ninjas, just as many as you can," Jiraiya replied. Iruka felt like giving him a forehead slap. He almost forgot that Anko also aspired to be a Jonin. Fortunately, she was unaware of this. On the negative side, Jiraiya's remarks made him aware of the situation they were in. Instead of facing an army of Chunins, he half expected his test to be a battle with a Jonin or a small group of them. "I know that this seems very unfair, but you won't alone. Uzumaki Kushina, retired Jonin of Konohagakure. You will be fighting on Iruka and Anko's side as your test to see if you are ready to return to active duty," Jiraiya replied. The redhead grinned. She was more than prepared, having trained successfully with her husband for the past week, and she was finally aware of the full potential of her new body because of Tsunade's checks. Flashback. A room 2 days ago in Konoha's hospital. Kushina was awaiting Tsunade's decision regarding the lengthy medical examination she had to go through in the final days. They did the final one that day, and now, in order to check Kushina's vitals and perform various analyses on her body tissues, the slug Sanin put the younger woman through a battery of medical tests and physical exercises. The redhead felt like a lab rat on Tsunade's, and she nearly lost her temper. Indeed, those tests were required to determine her body's capabilities. The memories of the clones she had trained with Minato were giving her a good idea of her new abilities. Although Minato was impressed, he insisted that she continue to receive Tsunade's checks even though she had never felt so strong while she was alive. If I had armpit hairs, she would have examined them, Kushina reasoned. Shizune and Hinata entered the room with the said medic, who assisted her in conducting some of the tests. As part of her lessons, they allowed Hinata to observe the final ones, but she only assisted in checking Kushina's chakra coils with her Byakugan. Although they had the answers to some of the questions that have piqued her interest since her return, Kushina downplayed the significance of the tests. With a playful tone that attempted to conceal her nervousness, Kushina asked, "And well, Ba-chan, what's your final conclusion about my new body?" The nickname caused Tsunade's eye to twitch. Because of some of the manners Minato was able to instill in him, Naruto treated her with a great deal of respect when they next met. However, he has recently started referring to her as old, much like his future self, which coincides with Kushina's return. So, she is the responsible. I almost forgot that Naruto inherited his attitude from her. I'm sorry for Minato. With her screwing around, it will take Kami's will to manage to teach Naruto etiquette, Tsunade reflected. As she held the folders containing the results, she glanced at Kushina. First of all, I want to thank you for your patience with the tests. Many of them were not necessary for an ordinary medical check, but it was the first time that I had the chance to examine a real clone. Elemental clones are just constructs animated by chakra and cage bunshin's dispel whenever we try to take samples, Tsunade said. Kushina replied, yeah. What have you found out about me? One of the folders was opened by Tsunade. According to the description that Minato gave us about the process that revived you, what he did was to create a clone mixing the 5 elements to create a clone that got your DNA and your soul infused into it, Tsunade said. Yes, we know that. Kushina interrupted impatiently. Quote, What I want to remark is that the infusion of your DNA and your soul in the process was the only thing that kept your actual body to be an exact clone of Minato controlled by a mind completely equal to his, a perfect cage bunshin to understand. For that reason your actual body is similar to Minato's in many things, Tsunade said. Puzzled, Kushina questioned, what do you mean with a perfect cage bunshin and my body being equal to Minato in many things? Arashi Uzumaki and Kushina Uzumaki were the names of the 2 folders that Tsunade gave Kushina. When Kushina opened them, he saw that they were profiles of their abilities, both mental and physical. Quote, As you noticed, these are your personal profiles from the Hokage's office, very confidential. Jiraiya lent me Minato's after I finished to update yours with the tests. Please compare them, Tsunade replied. Kushina looked at both files and nodded. The fact that her husband was superior to her in such crucial areas as intelligence, taijutsu, and ninjutsu was a little annoying. She was equal to him in physical stature, but her only advantage was that she possessed the water and earth chakra affinities. As she studied the profiles, she exclaimed in surprise, wait. Is this true? Tsunade said, glancing at the brunette, yes, it is. Shizune, please explain the situation. Shizune accepted the message. As you can see, your strength, speed and stamina are equal to Minato's, who is one of the most complete shinobis alive in those stats. A cage bunshin has the same capabilities as its creator. Because the blood clone is a perfect cage bunshin, your body has the same capabilities as Minato's with the exception of DNA, gender and physical traits like appearance or weight, Shizune said with a cheerful voice. Kushina was intrigued and thought, so I'm physically more capable than most ninjas and almost all men. Shizune remarked, not only that, but you also got a part of Minato's bloodline. What do you mean? I noticed that I don't heal faster than a normal person when you took samples from me, Kushina replied. Shizune inquired, do you have any signs from those wounds? When Kushina examined the areas of her body from which the tissues had been removed, she saw that her skin appeared to be unharmed and free of scars. Odd, Kushina remarked, I have the perfect healing feature. Tsunade gave a nod. Yes, you won't have to worry about getting scars or ending crippled from severe wounds. You still will need to spend as much time in the hospital as a normal ninja if you get injured, but you won't have to worry about sequels, Tsunade stated before turning to Hinata. The blonde woman said to the shy girl, who went pale, Hinata, tell Kushina about her chakra network. Kushina gave Hinata a reassuring smile that helped her relax. The girl from Hyuga started to explain. Well, Kushina-san, when I analyzed your chakra network, I saw that your chakra coils are really developed and capable to conduct huge amounts of chakra. See, coinciding with the explanation that Shizune-san made before, your chakra network is very similar to Minato-san's with the obvious exceptions caused by the physical differences. Hinata said this part blushing. Why you have as much chakra as Minato-san's, more than Tsunade Shiso or any other woman in Konoha's story, Kushina-san, she continued. With excitement, Kushina exclaimed, wow, really, am I really the best woman in chakra capacity in Konoha? Tsunade and Shizune both grinned and nodded, though the latter was a little miffed at being overthrown. Hinata replied, yes, Kushina-san, it is. Kushina made the poor girl blush by saying, come on Hinata-chan, don't call me like that. I told that you can call me mom. The other females made the decision to follow the redhead. Tsunade smiled mischievously and teased, you can call her like that, Hinata. I didn't know that you were so close to Naruto. So young and already with a boyfriend. You were very lucky, Hinata-chan, Shizune replied. Oink, oink, concurred Taunton. Hinata was so embarrassed that she was unable to respond. Kushina swiftly shifted the topic and made the decision to stop making fun of her. With a worried expression, she asked, what about the other thing I asked you to check? Tsunade grabbed a second folder. Yes, I send the data from that check to the head gynecologist keeping your identity in secret and I got the results 2 hours ago, Tsunade replied. And well, Kushina asked anxiously. Congratulations, Kushina, you are completely able to bear children, your body is as fertile as a healthy woman's in her 20s. Are you planning to rebuild your clan soon? Replied Tsunade. Kushina, who was afraid that her cloned body wouldn't be able to make her a mother again, was overjoyed by the older woman's remarks. If it were true, Minato told her, she shouldn't feel bad because he would take the blame for reviving her on himself. I see. Thank you very much, Tsunade, but not. I'm not planning to have more children at the moment. Now that I know that I'm capable to fight, I'm going to join the Kunoichi's contraceptive program. Don't misinterpret me, this notice made me really happy and there's nothing I would wish more than having another child. But with the Akatsuki's menace I can't take the risk to end pregnant and become an easy target. Besides, now I have the chance to fight against Naruto's enemies, you don't know how useless I felt when I only could watch. Now they will find out what is waiting for those who dare to threat my son. Kushina looked at her with determination. Hinata gazed in wonder at Kushina. The redhead was actually Naruto's mother, and it was her demeanor that initially drew her to the blonde and ultimately led to her falling in love with him. Kushina gave the Hyuga a look. I'm sorry Hinata-chan, but you'll have to wait until we finish our enemies before you have a brother or sister-in-law, she said. Between the older women's giggles, Hinata finally passed out from those words. Final flashback. When Jiraiya explained the test's rules, Kushina was so preoccupied with her thoughts that she nearly missed them. Quote, Your adversaries only can attack you in groups of 3. You are not allowed to kill or cause wounds that would cripple your opponents, that will be an instant disqualification. The tower in the center of the complex is a safe haven where you could rest. Tsunade will be there to help you if you need healing, but the exam will be considered finished for those who ask for their help. These are the rules. Good luck, Jiraiya's voice said. Anko said in a positive tone, great, if they can only attack us in groups of 3, we have chances to defeat them all. She was right, Kushina agreed. For his part, Iruka lacked confidence. Afterwards, with Kushina at the front and Anko and Iruka at the sides, the 3 Chunins cautiously watched as their targets moved forward. Tanaka, Mitsuki, take the prefixed positions, we are going to active our first trap, Hiroshi replied. With a nod, the other Chunins vanished. Hiroshi waited until the 3 candidates entered the narrow path surrounded by bushes. A few hours prior, they had concealed some electrified wires in the bushes, which were strong enough to incapacitate the examinees but not deadly. Their second trap was a hanging rock that would force them to jump toward the bushes if they didn't want to be crushed by it. Hiroshi set off the trap, causing the rock to fall and dispelling the genjutsu that concealed it just behind Kushina, Anko, and Iruka. They don't have time to do the hand seals for a jutsu, they must jump to the bushes, he believed. But while everyone else ducked, Kushina looked up instead of sideways. On her hand, a blue sphere materialized. She yelled, Rasengan, as she struck the rock, crushing it. Hiroshi was taken aback because, although he was aware that the Rasengan existed and was one of Arashi's techniques, he couldn't have imagined that she would be aware of it. She was a Jonin a decade ago, I shouldn't be surprised. Now it's my teammate's turn, believed. Tanaka gets ready to throw the explosive tagged kunais. Mitsuki used a jutsu to attack the examinees after emerging from behind them. As Mitsuki attacked them with the kunais, he yelled, "Sweden, Teppadama," and fired a barrage of water bullets at them to get their attention. They appeared shocked that Anko and Iruka did not attempt to avoid them. Instead, the kunais and water bullets went through them. Mitsuki said, "Shit, they are bunshins." Instead, not being a bunshin, though, Kushina swiftly grabbed one of the exploding kunais and tossed it to Mitsuki. The startled Chunin was forced to leap in the direction of the bushes, where he was knocked down by an electric discharge. Hiroshi and Tanaka became anxious. "Where are Anko and Iruka?" Hiroshi asked himself. Then he felt the blade of a kunai against his neck. Iruka said gravely, "Give up, now Anko should have caught your remaining teammate." Hiroshi conceded his loss. The three tied Chunins were later viewed by the examinees in a clearing. Well, I hope that our prisoners wouldn't want to play heroes and refuse to tell us who else are we going to face in this test, won't they? Asked Anko with a wry grin. Mitsuki, who was already awake, said, "Sorry, but we don't know their identities or their numbers, a precaution for cases like this. However, we can say you that your next opponents are hiding behind that grove," Tanaka replied. "Anything else?" Kushina inquired. "No," Tanaka answered. "I dealt with enough academy students to know that they are lying," Iruka replied. After giving them a savage grin, Anko removed a kunai. As she licked the weapon, she remarked, "The rules stated that we couldn't kill or cripple them, but they didn't say anything about causing pain or scars." Hiroshi was astute enough to see that there was no real reason to keep them in the dark about the trap that stood in the way to the grove. This was merely a test, and they weren't concealing important information from the village. Before swallowing the sleeping pill he had concealed in his mouth, Hiroshi stated, "The path to the grove passes through is full of hidden mines. They are not powerful enough to kill you, but they will delay you while the others prepare themselves. And no, we are not going to tell you where they are." His teammates followed suit, and before long, they were fast asleep. In an attempt to find a way to get over, Iruka gazed at the mined field. Fortunately, he found the answer thanks to his extensive knowledge of military stories from his time as a teacher. He noticed that Kushina and Anko had stripped the inmates of their clothing, leaving them in their underwear and placing them in extremely precarious positions, when he turned to explain the plan to his teammates. Naruto got his personality from Kushina, the mischievous nature was inherited from her, believed. After taking all of the inmates' kunais, Iruka told the women about his scheme. He then started tossing the kunais into the field. Some of them set off mines, while the others were buried in the ground. "Okay, follow me," Iruka said as he made his way to the field. Kushina and Anko followed the teacher as he crossed the field, stepping on the kunais with rapid leaps. They gave him an approving glance. The little crow that watched everything was unknown to them all. It vanished into a smoke cloud and then resurfaced where Yamashiro Aoba, his master, and other Jonins were waiting. The bespectacled Jonin updates his fellows on the examinees' performance. As he took another cigarette, Sarutobi Asuma remarked, "They are resourceful and skilled. Those hidden in the grove won't have any chance against them. I bet that they will manage to defeat the other teams and we will have to intervene at the end." As he held the Raijin, the Nadaime Hokage's sword, Gekko Hayate remarked, "Cough, well, I hope so. It will be a good chance to test the weapon that the Hokage put into my custody." The Jonin hopefuls prepared to take on their next opponents by approaching the grove after receiving a briefing on a swift attack strategy. They were unaware, as were the other ninjas in the building, that Jiraiya was transmitting the test to the local TV station in Konoha. The fact that most of Konoha's population was watching the event was unknown to them. The new Hokage allowed Naruto and Minato to remain in the control room with Jiraiya, but only on the proviso that they refrain from assisting Kushina during the exam, including by using the link that Minato shared with her. This was in contrast to the rest of Konoha. With pride, Naruto observed his mother's awesome appearance while wearing her ninja gear. In addition to wearing a mesh shirt underneath her partially open jacket, she was dressed in a ninja suit that was primarily orange with white accents. Her bangs partially concealed the Konoha's forehead protector, and her weapons pouch was securely fastened to complete the ensemble. No, perverts, neither Anko's nor her mesh shirt is transparent. Naruto's classmates gazed at Kushina in wonder. Sakura thought, "Is this Naruto's mom? She is really young. I never thought that a princess would choose to be a ninja. I wonder what shampoo brand she uses, her hair looks like it had its own life," Ino mused. Kiba and his family were watching the exam. He thought his friend's mother would be a blonde woman in her mid-30s, not like his older sister, when his mother told him that she had become friends with Kushina Uzumaki. The Inuzuka boy thought, wow, she is really hot. It's a pity that Naruto didn't have a twin sister who looked like her. When Hinata saw the rock fall over Kushina, she nearly gasped, but she exhaled in relief when she realized how easily the redhead had destroyed it. Hanabi remarked, the princess is very powerful. As she gazed in wonder at Kushina, the 5-year-old girl couldn't wait to see her after learning that she had a real princess living a few meters from her house. Yes, she is, said Hiyashi, looked carefully not only at her but also the rest of participants. This is a very rare chance to see some experienced ninjas displaying their skills. The two girls said, hi, simultaneously. Naruto remarked, Mom is really fast making the Rasengan. Yes, she is, said Minato. This is one of the reasons because a ninja must really master a new jutsu once it is learned instead of learning new ones. Speed is crucial for ninjas. A ninja who can perform a B-rank jutsu in 3 seconds is more dangerous than one who can do an A rank in 7 because he will make the first hit and most times it is the last one. Kushi-chan wouldn't have had time to destroy the rock performing the Rasengan with a clone's help. Naruto nodded and continued to observe the test. His mother and the others were now up against the ninjas concealed in the grove. Subsequent opponents of the Jonin hopeful attempted to ambush them by disguising themselves as bunchins and launching subtle attacks. The Rain ninjas used the same tactic against Team 7 during the Chunin exams, and Kushina had to conceal a smile as she ducked a kunai. This strategy only worked as long as the people being ambushed were unaware of who they were, but it was not an issue for them. The attacks abruptly stopped, the clones vanished, and the actual opponents escorted by Iruka's doublessa appears with a kunai on their throats. Well done Iruka, they never thought that this time the real ones would be the bait while your clones caught them, said Anko. Everyone worked on it, Anko. Without your assistance, I couldn't have completed this, the teacher retorted. As she assisted Iruka's clones in tying the ninjas, Kushina said, let's wait until we finish this before starting the congratulations. Surprised, Naruto said, Iruka-sensei can do cage bunchins too. Minato remarked, yes, he hasn't learned it in a long time. Flashback. 2 weeks after he began his training to become a Jonin, the Chunin teacher looked at Arashi and tried to figure out why the former cage wanted to see him. It was something really important, Arashi said. He questioned, why did you call me, Hoka? Arashi-san. Under his mask, the Uzumaki grinned and presented him with a massive scroll that Iruka instantly recognized. This is, yes, it's the scroll of forbidden jutsus, as ex-cage I have the right to borrow it. You can learn a jutsu from the scroll. If you want to be a Jonin you should have at least a wild card under your sleeve. Many of these jutsus are forbidden because the risks they entail, but a Jonin is supposed to have enough judgment to determine when to use a dangerous jutsu, Arashi replied. The scroll was opened by the masked Jonin. Take a look at the description of the jutsus and choose carefully, he advised. Iruka brought to mind Naruto's Bunshin training. Arashi-san, I'm determined to learn Cage Bunshin, he said. Do you want to use it for training as Naruto does? You have surprisingly large chakra reserves but I don't think you could use it like that, said Arashi. Iruka shook his head in denial. No, I don't want to use it to be stronger. My true goal is to be a better teacher so the mistake I did with Naruto wouldn't happen again. If I can use a pair of clones, I would be able to give extra time to troubled students and help them, he replied. Arashi's regard for the teacher grew as a result of Iruka's remarks. No wonder Naruto's future self missed you so much, this makes me feel even worse for your future self's death, Minato thought. The blonde said, alright. Cage Bunshin is a relatively easy jutsu. Final flashback. It would be best to leave that part for the Omake because their next opponents were defeated in such an odd manner. Jiraiya's voice came through the speakers to the examinees. Very well done, but now things will get harder. They were the weakest teams, next ones won't be so easy, Jiraiya replied. By the way, I inform my readers that my next book, Ika Ika Panic, will be available tomorrow, now with more romance and action than ever, said the wicked Hokage. For a few seconds, the audience saw the book's cover appear on the screen. Kakashi grinned and said, I know. I made my reservation weeks ago, Jiraiya-sama will be there signing the books. I guess that it was one of the reasons he decided to broadcast this. I thought that he wouldn't be as troublesome as Tsunade but I was wrong, said Shikamaru. Everything appeared to be normal when Iruka and company arrived at a location full of training posts. They suddenly attacked a few of them. Anko used a Kaiden jutsu that produced a tiny but incredibly swift flame, Kushina used a Doden jutsu that resembled a wave of dirt, and Iruka used a Raiden jutsu that was a lightning bolt. It was discovered that the attacked posts were actually a group of ninjas in disguise, who used kawarimi with the actual posts to get away. One, who appeared to be the leader, carefully examined them as he took his black sword out of its sheath. He saw a tiny snake's head sticking out of Anko's jacket. Therefore, Raida Asakura thought, so that's the reason. To ensure that other ninjas heard, he yelled, "Everyone, they are using Anko's snakes to detect us. These reptiles have the ability to feel corporal heat. Normal hitting methods won't work with them." Anko stepped closer to the leader and exclaimed, "% and hash delater. I'll show you to be a good boy and keep your mouth closed." But Kushina stood in their way. "Let me this one. Although I bet that you are able to defeat him, I'm better prepared to face a swordsman. We must be the most efficient possible," said the blonde. Anko nodded and chose to confront the opponent to her right, while Iruka confronted the other, who was brandishing a wakizashi. Kushina grabbed a scroll and opened it to reveal a powerful katana. She assumed a combat position. "Prepare to see the might of the Whirlpool sword style. All your previous experience with other fighting styles won't help you against it," she said with a serious expression. Since it was Tenten's first time seeing a sword mistress from Konoha, she paid closer attention to the screen than usual. "Mom knows how to fight with a sword," Naruto exclaimed, his eyes shining. Minato gazed at the screen and grinned. Kushina pulled out her sword and aimed it at Raida. She was slower than he initially believed, which he assumed was an attempt to test him. He quickly swung his sword to deflect the blow. The real Kushina crept up on Raida and used a low-powered Rasengan to knock out her opponent, but just as the blades were about to collide, Kushina's blade transformed into a copy of her, who grabbed the blade by the sides. One of the advantages of the Rasengan is that it can be used as a non-lethal jutsu just by using less chakra and make it spin slower, she believed. On her opponent's side, she placed the black sword. "There's not Whirlpool sword style. A ninja shouldn't believe what the opponent says. We are masters of deception and we fight using it," Kushina replied. Tenten was a little let down that the sword style didn't exist, but the girl admired how the woman was able to defeat her opponent so successfully. Anko, for her part, was able to quickly disable her opponent with the Seniyashu snake hand. Iruka's opponent was more resilient, skilled at manipulating elements, and was transforming his wakizashi into a flaming sword by channeling fire chakra. By using his kunais to focus lighting chakra, the teacher repelled the enemy's attack. A very spectacular fight broke out between them. Iruka's students watched in wonder as their teacher used his own cool lighting kunais to battle an enemy with a cool flaming sword. In a stale match, neither of the opponents appeared to have any advantages over the other. "Unlike my opponent, I can't waste energy fighting him. I'll have to fight more people after this," the instructor thought. He chose to employ one of his unique strategies. He grabbed some ninja wire from his pouch and performed a backward somersault to get away from the enemy. His opponent thought, "He is going to try to immobilize me." Iruka threw the wire in the direction of his adversary as he had predicted. He was able to avoid it and rushed to exploit the teacher's vulnerable position. Ninja wire's primary drawback was that it left the user extremely exposed in the event that he was unable to incapacitate the target. The ninja wire moved on its own and immobilized Iruka just as the ninja was ready to strike him with the hilt of his sword. Iruka quickly chopped his opponent's neck, knocking him out. His pupils were stunned. None of them could have predicted their teacher's strength. Sasuke was eager for Kakashi to introduce him to elemental chakra manipulation the following week after observing his skill at manipulating lighting chakra with his weapon. The kunoichis also impressed the female students, who were able to defeat their opponents more quickly than Iruka. A boy with a girlish appearance was attempting to decipher how the teacher was able to move the wire at his whim. "Do you know how he managed to do that, Dad?" "I mean Zabuza-sama," Haku responded. Zabuza's gaze shifted to his son. Haku was instructed to pose as Zabuza's son upon their arrival in Konoha in order for them to cohabitate. The boy was quite pleased with his new behavior, and this was not the first time he had called in such a manner when it wasn't required. "I have to tell him the truth, that I am his true father. But I can't find the words or the moment to do it. At least I can respond to his question," he considered. "It's very easy. He channeled water chakra through the wire and moved it at his will," said Zabuza. "Water chakra?" astonished Haku. "Yes, water chakra. The 5 elements can be channeled through weapons with different results. Fire chakra adds fire damage to the weapon's attack, lighting chakra does the same, adding electricity, replied Zabuza. Now Haku was genuinely intrigued. Then there's earth chakra. Instead of adding extra damage, it increases the hardness of the weapon. It works better with blunt weapons, making them able to crush their target with easiness, but it is not as effective with bladed weapons. For these ones there's wind chakra, that makes them sharper and lets increase their range. A ninja able to focus the chakra can defeat opponents more skilled than him in kenjutsu thanks to the advantage his weapon has, Zabuza said while recalling his battle with Minato. And water chakra? Haku inquired. Water chakra is the most ductile of all chakra and it can move at the user's will. Iruka channeled water into the wire and made the chakra move, moving the wire with it. Water chakra lets the weapon turn into an extension of the user's hands. For that reason Water Country has the best kenjutsu users. Water chakra literally increases the user's skill. If you use water chakra with a flexible weapon like a chain or a wire, you can make it move on its own. Iruka used that trick to escape a lot of times during the training he had with me, said the Mist Nin. Haku kept watching the show, thankful for his father's lesson. Now that the other ninjas were aware of their detection technique, the candidates made the decision to sit down and consider their options. Their next rivals, however, had different ideas. Their next enemies struck before they could make a decision. While Kushina had to battle another kunoichi alone, 2 ninjas tag-teamed against Anko and Iruka. She was about to strike the other woman when someone snuck up behind her and grabbed Kushina's hair. Her opponent used poison needles, which she had to carefully avoid. That individual was a replica of her adversary. In other words, the person snatching her was the real one, the one who had vanished in the smoke. I forgot that I'm not the only woman able to use cage buncheons, believed. You shouldn't let your hair grow so long unless let it loose like that. It can hinder your sight, it has a significant weight and your adversaries can grab it like I'm doing it, the other kunoichi replied. Shizune felt a little bad about hurting her new friend, but if the redhead wanted to go back to active duty, she had to warn Kushina about such a dangerous weakness. When the sound kunoichi grabbed Sakura's hair and told her that kunoichi should concentrate on their skills rather than their appearance, Kushina brought to mind a similar scenario in the Forest of Death in the future. An angry person yelled, "Hey! Don't talk about mom's hair like that, and take your hands off it." Since Kushina's opponent was unaware of what was in store for her, Minato grinned at the circumstances. For aesthetic reasons, his wife didn't let her hair grow that long. She was able to complete a technique she started developing prior to Naruto's conception during their training last week. One of her strongest traits was now a weakness. Shizune was surprised when Kushina's hair suddenly started to move and wrap itself around her wrist. She attempted to cut it with a kunai in a panic, but it was as hard as steel. The way Kushina's hair started to move on its own, as if it were alive, captivated everyone. That method reminded Jiraiya of his lion's mane, but Kushina could move the hair as she pleased, whereas Jiraiya's method relied on creased movements of the entire hair. Shizune's remaining limbs were seized by more locks, and a 5th one knocked her unconscious. The story of the Crimson Death began that day. Kushina joined the battle, taking advantage of the shock her new technique caused. The odds were now in favor of the candidates due to their numerical advantage, especially when Kushina chose to showcase one of her specialties, as the surprise element was no longer on the opposition's side. As the original helped Anko, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, yelled, generating a clone who arrived to aid Iruka. Astonished, Sasuke questioned, "She can perform Kage Bunshins too?" Kakashi remarked, "Yes, it makes sense." Naruto inherited his most chakra capacity from her. Does it mean that she can use them for train as Naruto does? Sasuke inquired. Kakashi gave nod. The Jonin said, "Yes, she can." The Uchiha remained silent, but it was clear from his grimace that he was irritated by the fact that someone else had that training tool at her disposal. Upon their return from Suna, Sasuke questioned Kakashi about Naruto's rapid strength development. The Kage Bunshin's secret and the fact that only people with Kage-level chakra reserves, like Naruto or his father, could use them for training were revealed to Sasuke by the copy nin. Though it didn't mean he had to like it, the Uchiha realized that the former dead last was so strong now because he had actually trained for years, not because he had suddenly become more talented than him. Sasuke wanted to ask his mentor more questions, but Kakashi had left the room. In the meantime, the blonde in question appeared awestruck by his mother's method in the control room. How she does that thing with the hair. It moves at his will and it is surprisingly strong, they can't cut it, said Naruto. She moves it channeling water chakra trough her own hair, it is the same to the thing Iruka did before with the wire. She also channels earth chakra to make it hard as steel, so they can't cut it, said Minato. How can she channel two different chakra types? You said that it was almost impossible, Naruto responded. It is a technique your mother began to develop years ago, when we were still genins and she saw Jiraiya using his lion mane technique. What you see is the result of years of training. It is not something that could be done with a normal weapon, even those made with the chakra-leading metal. She can do it with her hair because a person's own hair is the best chakra conductor possible, said Minato. Without taking his eyes off the screen, Naruto questioned, really? Yes, remember that hair is created from a person's own body. For that reason I add some of my hair turned into powder on the ink for my most complex seals. We are not the only ones who take advantage of this characteristic. For example, the Yamanakas have a technique that lets them paralyze somebody in contact with their hair, and medic nin teams sometimes use locks of the patient's hair for the healing seals, explained Minato. The altercation ended quickly. Fighting Kushina with her hair technique was like fighting an opponent with multiple arms, even though the masked ninjas were highly skilled shinobis with years of experience. Such experience was based on fighting opponents with 4 limbs. Iruka's opponent was swiftly knocked down by the Chunin after her clone successfully immobilized his arms. Anko experienced a similar situation. Kushina's hair complemented her Seniyashu hidden shadow snake hand perfectly. Their enemy fell rapidly because he couldn't tell the difference between the snakes and the hair. Naruto didn't realize his father was gone from the room because he was so excited with his mother. Mom is really cool, I wonder what other things she can do, Dad. Dad looked confused. Zabuza stood up at that precise moment, grabbed his blade, and made his way to the door. Haku, I just reminded that I have a very important matter in hands. I'll go back in an hour, he replied. Without removing his gaze from the screen, Haku replied, all right, Zabuza-sama. Jiraiya was staring thoughtfully at the screen. So the little Kushina finally managed to finish that technique he was talking about. It is a very interesting trick. Unlike my own techniques, it can't extend the hair's length, but it is not limited to prefixed movements. Unfortunately, it won't be useful against their next opponents, the Hokage said with a grin. Why are you smiling like that, Ero Sennin? By the way, have you seen Dad? He left the room, Naruto responded. Don't worry about him, he said that he had to do something concerning your mother, a very special surprise he said, replied Jiraiya. The Jonin hopefuls, meanwhile, were resting a little. Is everyone all right? Any wounds or something like that? Iruka asked. Kushina said, no, I'm still unscratched. I just have a small cut on my waist, nothing to be concerned about, Anko replied. Although the wound was minor, Iruka didn't want to take any chances, so he looked at the area where his girlfriend had pointed. Ignoring Anko's protests, he took a small medpack from his pouch and started to treat her wound. She grumbled, hey, I told you that it is nothing. You don't have to do that. If we begin another fight, the movements could aggravate a wound like that and make it bleed. We can't take risks like that. Okay, this bandage will make sure that it won't happen again, Iruka replied. Kushina gave them a funny look. Don't complain, Anko-chan. Iruka is just expressing his concern for you. Most girls would love to have such an attentive boyfriend like him, she said. Many women agreed with Kushina, and some of them gave their partners a disapproving glance. Anko sarcastically asked, should we go to the safe haven where Tsunade can give me medical treatment? Iruka thought she was being serious when she said, it is not a good idea, probably that place's surroundings must be filled with traps and other teams waiting for us. A recognizable voice from above said, you don't have to worry about that, we are the remaining team, and we are here to deal with you. Iruka went pale. The thought was, that's Minato-sama's voice. Momochi Zabuza, Uzumaki Arashi, and Hitaki Kakashi were standing over the branch. The examinees regarded their next opponents with a mix of fear, shock, and incredulity. The Hand of Death members gave their opponents a cautious but assured glance. The audience understood that the last opponents would not repeat the mistakes of their forebears. Kushina saw right away that something was amiss with them, but she was unable to identify the reason. The instructor brought up the training sessions in which Kakashi and Zabuza had taken part. He felt like giving up, but he prepared to fight. Anko stood up and grinned confidently as he surveyed the next opponent. She thought, "It is going to be a hell of a fight." The audience became even more interested in the screens. Jiraiya decided to deliver the heavy weaponry. "I have no doubt about who will win the next fight. Sending an X-Cage and 2 Jonin elites probably means that the Hokage already finds them worthy of the Jonin rank and now he wants to test how powerful they are," said Shikamaru. "I thought that the adversaries were supposed to keep their identities in secret," Ino said. "They are already masked in their daily life. We don't know how they look without their mask," Sakura reasoned. Naruto was initially unsure of which side would win the battle. Is it his dad or his mom? He ultimately chose to support her because she was weaker than he was and would require more help. Without warning, the enemies threw their opponents to the ground. Arashi drew his 3-pronged kunais and ordered, "Split them, we are superior to them in solo combat." While Zabuza surrounded Iruka with his clones, leaving Kushina to face Arashi alone, Kakashi used a Kaden jutsu over Anko that caused her to leap away from her partners. When the snake mistress witnessed the copy nin calling forth his dogs, she chose to respond by calling forth her own snakes. 3 anaconda-sized snakes emerged and charged at the nin dogs after they executed the seals with a speed that could only be learned through years of practice. But Anko was shocked when the dogs wrung out from the snake's flying rings as they were about to be taken. "What? Since when these pooches are able to flight, unless..." Iruka was now up against the original after defeating Zabuza's water clones. The ex-demon pulled out his enormous sword and used it to channel chakra. On the blade, however, electricity appeared in place of ice. The swordsman remarked, surprised, "Rookie. I have more resources than I appear to have." Iruka channeled Raiden chakra and drew his kunais. For her part, Kushina didn't consider using her hairstyle against Arashi because, despite the fact that it was as hard as steel, Arashi's wind chakra blades could cut it just like any other hair. She was attempting to avoid her husband's assaults. A sudden movement caught his attention, nearly striking her, but she was able to block it with her own 3-pronged kunai. Arashi appeared shocked that the wind blade had failed to pierce the kunai. "Surprised to see that, imposter. I trained with my husband and he already knew that I can do this." "There's no need to keep the charade, Asuma-san," Kushina replied. The Jonin with the beard parted his henge. "I can understand that you found that I was not Arashi, but how you found out who I was," he replied. "Wind users are rare even in Suna, only you and my husband are able to channel wind chakra into weapons in Konoha. Besides, you are more skilled than him with the weapons but slower. Other point was the fact that you separated us to not make team work. The real ones are already familiar with each other and their team's work would have been better. It was easy to find out the truth," she said. "That, and the fact that you don't have the link I share with Minato," she reflected. The son of the Sandaime lit a cigarette and assumed a more comfortable fighting stance. "I suppose that your partners already found out, but now your only concern is passing through me," he replied. Kakashi had already returned from the restroom when Sasuke asked him how she managed to block the wind-enhanced blades. Probably she used earth chakra to harden her weapon in order to counter the sharpening, Kakashi speculated. The rest of his team had already been exposed, just as Asuma had predicted. While Iruka was battling Hayate, Anko was engaged in combat with Aoba. Anko was performing well against him despite not being accustomed to fighting other summoners. Even though her snakes had hunted birds before, the crows were unusual prey because they were large, had claws, large beaks, and their own jutsus. Aoba chose to employ one of his most effective weapons. Kuchio's no jutsu. He cried as he slammed his hand down. Anko was expecting to see a huge crow, but instead he saw a humanoid creature with wings that resembled a cross between a crow and a human, ready to battle her with a sword. The summon was familiar to her. "A Tengu, I'll have to give all with my next technique," reflected. She yelled, "Kuchio's no jutsu," and was able to call forth a huge snake. Her boyfriend was struggling with his opponent as well. Sadly for the Chunin, Hayate was carrying the fabled sword of the Nadaime, the Raijin. Although it required a lot of energy, he was able to block many of Hayate's blows with Raiden-powered kunais. Hayate didn't have to worry about this because the Raijin handled the chakra conversion. All he needed to do was channel regular chakra. In addition, Iruka was nearly knocked down by 2 blows. Iruka refilled his chakra by taking a soldier pill. "If it was not for my training with Kakashi I wouldn't be accustomed to receive Raiden jutsus. If I could use that technique I would have a chance, but the tunnel vision is too risky. If I have more eyes." "Wait, that's it," said. As a teacher at the academy, Iruka developed his genjutsu skills in addition to becoming a balanced shinobi, unlike his partners. He called forth a Kage Bunshin and employed a straightforward but powerful illusion to divert Hayate's attention and put some distance between him and the swordsman. As Hayate broke the illusion, he heard a sound he recognized. Chidori's was being performed by Iruka and his clone. The copy ninja's yells, which could be heard throughout Konoha, came next. Kakashi cried out, "What? This is my technique." He copied it. Sasuke ignored his tutor's cries and covered his ears with cotton. Zabuza, who also went home, pondered, how is he going to use it? Only one with a Sharingan could cope with the tunnel vision caused by the jutsu's speed. When Iruka and his clone combined their Chidori's and simultaneously charged at Hayate, the response emerged. Of course, increasing the number of eyes counters the vision problem. Not only that, but he gets a stronger jutsu, Jiraiya was thinking. Due to Iruka's lack of jutsu experience, the poor Hayate was able to avoid the attack at the last second. However, the double Chidori was stunned by the electricity surrounding him, and Iruka and his clone struck him simultaneously, knocking him unconscious. Aoba and his summoned companion were in a stalemate with Anko and her great snake. Kushina, for her part, understood that she had no chance against someone like Asuma in close combat and was forced to employ that tactic. It will leave me with most my chakra, but it will be worth the effort, she believed. They started gathering a lot of chakra in a familiar manner after Kushina called forth a clone. Naruto questioned in wonder, what is she doing? A technique your future self developed. I didn't know about it until she showed it to me during her training, Minato replied. Naruto frowned and said, Dad, where have you been? You lost part of Mom's fight. His father said, look, she has it ready, but I have to buy something. As both Kushinas charged at Asuma with a spiraling sphere made of pure chakra, everyone watched. Odama Rasengan, she shouted out. Asuma made a last-second backward leap. However, he was surprised when Kushina slammed the sphere to the ground. Then there was a horrible explosion that left the battlefield with a huge crater. Asuma nearly passes out as the blast sends him in the direction of a tree. The technique's destructive power left everyone stunned. Rasengan was regarded as one of the Yondaime's most destructive techniques. It wasn't common to see someone else using a superpowered version. Sugoi, Naruto thought. Asuma's perspiration fell. Even Tsunade with her regeneration technique wouldn't have survived against something like that. Uzumaki-san is taking this test too seriously, he believed. She thought, great, now the next part of the strategy. A voice said, okay, that's enough, the test is over. They saw Tsunade, Hayate, Aoba, Anko, and Iruka with Jiraiya. The new Hokage gave the examinees a very positive look. Very well done you three. You excelled my expectations. Kushina-chan, you proved that you are ready to return to active duty and you have your Jonin restored. Anko, Iruka, you showed the power and the skill that differences Jonins from special Jonins and Chunins, for that reason you were promoted to that rank. Congratulations, he shouted. She hugged a very blushing Iruka as the others laughed. Yes, we did it, Iruka. This night we are going to have a special party to celebrate it. Anko exclaimed. They left the complex after Tsunade quickly checked on everyone to make sure they were okay. Naruto and Arashi were waiting for them at the exit. The elder gave Kushina a bunch of flowers while her son gave her a hug of congratulations. You were amazing, Mom. I didn't know that you were so strong. And your techniques are really cool, especially the Odama Rasengan. I can't wait until you teach it to me. Iruka-sensei, Anko-san, you were also impressive, the child replied. The new Jonins grinned as they accepted the congratulations. Thank you Naruto. But, how you knew about the techniques I used? Kushina responded. The Hokage received some glares from the new Jonins after the boy explained to them Jiraiya's plan to broadcast the exam on Konoha's local TV channel. Kushina handled it more well. Oh well, at least now everyone knows how good I am. I bet that seeing some real ninjas in action will make the other students take their instruction more seriously, she thought. That was not incorrect on her part. Those who were already at the academy now had a renewed respect for Iruka, and many civilian children were now requesting that their parents check them in. Now that there were other female role models besides Tsunade, the small group of girls who took their training seriously including Tenten and Hinata were especially thrilled with Kushina and Anko. Because both of his parents were ninjas, Naruto's other friends were also impressed and a little envious of him. But Sasuke was the one most impacted. Although he acknowledged that he couldn't use the Kage Bunshin training to gain strength quickly, he accepted Kakashi's explanation of Naruto's growth and found it difficult to believe that the other orphan in the class had regained one of his parents and was now stronger than him. He also came to terms with the fact that the new Hokage would be training Naruto. He understood that Gaara was the living embodiment of what might happen to Naruto because, as the blonde's Jinchuriki, he required special training to use that power. The Jonin was willing to teach Sasuke, who was just starting to learn everything he could from Kakashi. The Uchiha had no reason to be upset with Naruto for having a Kage train him because the copy nin was also the most qualified to train Sasuke with his Sharingan, something the Hokage was unable to do. He enjoyed living with the carefree Jonin, though he would not admit it. Kakashi resembled an uncle or distant cousin. Sasuke felt as though he had a family once more. However, he believed that there was no justice in the world after seeing Naruto's mother alive as well. In comparison to most girls his age, the woman was not only one of the most attractive women he had ever seen, but she was also a very talented ninja who took her work seriously. Naruto ought to be overjoyed. He would also be happy if Itachi didn't deceive everyone. After noticing Sasuke's uneasiness and speculating as to why, Kakashi was about to speak to the boy when the door was knocked on. When they opened it, the Sandaime Hokage was staring at them gravely. "Good evening, Sasuke, Kakashi, can I come in?" he replied. "Of course, Sandaime-sama. Feel yourself at home, would you like something to drink?" Kakashi responded. "Some tea, please. Could you let Sasuke and I alone? I need to tell him something very important," said the former Kage. After giving him a nod, Kakashi led him to Sasuke's room. In a courteous manner, Sasuke said, "Good evening, Sandaime-sama. Could you tell us why are you greeting us with your presence?" Sarutobi gave him a serious look. "Sasuke, I came to tell you something very important, it concerns your clan." After 3 days, Arashi closely watched as the seal on Yakumo's back vanished and the demon that had interfered with her power was translated into the new container by his transfer seals. Jiraiya, Sarutobi, Kurenai, and 2 representatives from Yakumo's family's Kurama clan also watched the procedure. The seal on the girl's back finally vanished entirely, but the seal in the pot of the new demon's container brightened briefly to indicate that the transfer was finished. At last, Arashi calmed down. "It's done, Yakumo-san. Now you are completely demon-free. Although the seal I placed on you before left you completely free of its influence, the demon would have ended getting free if you suddenly died because it was not linked to your life force. But now as long as the pot is sage we won't have to worry about it," Arashi replied. With a tiny sigh of relief, the girl made a promise to Arashi. She said, "Thank you very much, Uzumaki-san," as her clan members followed suit. One of them remarked, "Thank you. You made a great favor to our clan. But it's something bothering you?" the Sandaime inquired. Kurama, the elder, gave a nod. "Yes, Sandaime-sama, 2 questions in reality," he replied. Kurenai put her hand on Yakumo's shoulder and said, "Why don't you tell us?" The elderly man examined the pot. "Are you sure that this item will be able to contain that demon? That the monster wouldn't escape and go after our clan seeking for revenge?" he asked. Jiraiya gave a nod. "You don't have to worry about that matter. We have complete guarantees that this pot will do its job. For many years it was the container of Shukaku, the Biju. If it managed to keep a Biju trapped, that minor demon has no chance," Jiraiya replied. Yakumo was still uncomfortable, but the Kuramas appeared relieved. Kurenai questioned, "What's going on, Yakumo? Is it the other doubt your clan has?" The girl gave a nod. "Yes, Kurenai-sensei. I created that demon subconsciously and it killed my parents in a fire. What if I end creating another one? I know that the training you are giving me will prevent things like that to happen but," she replied. Kurenai and her clansmen were alarmed by the worried expression on her face. Arashi stepped in. "You don't have to worry about creating another demon. The truth is that the one I extracted from you was placed into your body by another person," Arashi replied. Kurenai, Yakumo, and the Kuramas gasped and stared at him in shock. Kurenai questioned, "What do you mean with that, Yan?" Arashi-san. "Oh yes, I almost forgot that. Kurenai is part of Kushina's new group of friends and she was told about our secret," Arashi reflected. He gave the girl a look. "I have enough experience with seals and demons to make a guess about that. When I made the seal to keep the demon in track I noticed the rests of another seal that was no longer working. This seal was another transfer seal. Everything points that someone placed that demon there to mess with your powers. Further investigations confirmed that this same demon already existed decades ago. The Sandaime researched about it, Arashi continued. The other Kuramas and the girl were taken aback. What, do you mean that this demon and everything it caused is not Yakumo's fault? They responded. Arashi gave a nod. Yes, somebody placed that demon into Yakumo, probably the night of that fire. His objective probably was to extinguish the Kurama's bloodline without leaving any track about him, Arashi replied. Kurenai knelt down in front of the poor girl as she started to cry. She said, Yakumo, are you all right? Why yes sensei. I feel relieved to know that I'm not the responsible for my parents' death. I'm sad to remind them. I am also angry, very angry with the one who did this to us. Uzumaki-san, do you know who was, don't you? Yakumo as she stood up. Arashi gave a nod. We have a guess. Do you know what happened in Kiri, don't you? The persecution of those with blood limits, he replied. Everybody gave a nod. We have proof that there was a mastermind behind the eradication of the blood limits in various countries, including ours. We can't say anything more because it is a S-class secret, but I recommend you to train yourself for the day he will unleash his plan, Arashi said. The girl nodded. All she needed to know that she would have her sensei's assistance was a glance from Kurenai. The other Kurama family members were anxious about the news and somewhat relieved that they were safe because they did not have a blood limit. They were also concerned about Yakumo. The oldest Kurama remarked, Uzumaki-san, you shouldn't encourage her to become a ninja, she has a very delicate health. Jiraiya cut him off. You don't have to worry about that. Yakumo's health problems were caused by the demon's presence. Without it and Tsunade's help she will regain her health and become a very powerful ninja in a few months, the Kage replied. Yakumo felt better after hearing the Hokage's words. I'll do it, Hokage-sama. With Kurenai-sensei's help I'll become a ninja and I will help to defeat that man, she replied. Arashi smiled as he glanced at the girl. I bet that your help will be very valuable. However, I feel a bit guilty for make you feel sad. Why don't you let me invite to a party as compensation? Today is my son's birthday and we will have a party with lots of people of your age group. Because I invited you so late you don't have to bring a present, Arashi said as she gave her the invitation. As she accepted the paper, the girl squealed, a party. I never was invited to a party. Thank you very much Arashi-san. Her gaze shifted to the other Kuramas. She said as she walked out of the room, come on, I can't go to a birthday party without a proper dress and a gift. Before departing after Yakumo, the elder Kurama expressed regret for her pre-adolescent behavior. I told her that it was not necessary for her to bring a gift. Oh well, Arashi reflected. Kurenai left the room, leaving the three remaining Hokages by themselves, after bowing to the Hokage and Arashi for their assistance. Minato caught the Sandaime's attention. The one who put the demon into Yakumo. Are you sure that it was Madara? Said he. Minato gave a nod. Well, he didn't leave a sign saying, Madara was there, but he is the main suspect. In the other world we confirmed that he was the one behind the bloodline's extermination in Kiri. When I talked with the deceased members of the Kurama clan who had the blood limit, they told me that the one who killed him was a man with a spiral mask and a Sharingan eye. Same happened with, no, forget about it, Minato replied. Jiraiya gave him a look. Is there something concerning Madara you don't want to tell us? He inquired. Minato gave a nod. Jiraiya gave him a serious expression. Minato, we can't have secrets concerning our enemy. As Hokage I order you to tell us what happened, he stated. Minato cursed the day Jiraiya became Yondaime, but he spoke because he couldn't defy such a clear command. Okay, I will tell. What I didn't want to tell was that the same happening to the Kuramas also happened with most Senjus. They were assassinated by Madara during missions outside Konoha. Including Naoki, Minato responded. The room's temperature dropped. Jiraiya and Sarutobi, Tsunade's sensei and teammates, knew the boy when he was alive, so their loss was also very painful. They shuddered for the evil of the Uchiha to consider that Madara was responsible for decades of some of Konoha's worst tragedies. At last, Jiraiya spoke. I recommend to keep this in secret. It will be better if Tsunade Heim doesn't know about this, stated. The others concurred. I have a question, Sarutobi replied. If Madara wanted to destroy the other blood limits, why he didn't do anything to the Hyugas? I guess that he wouldn't take the risk to be discovered by them. Hyugas are known for their paranoia about their blood limit and he probably realized that their traditions would end destroying them, stated Minato. Jiraiya laughed and said, "It's ironic to see that the same traditions that are destroying them saved them to be Madara's target. Yes, I hope that my plan to change them for the better would be a success. But stop worrying about those things for today. Today is a day to celebrate," Minato replied. "Yes, it's your boy's birthday. Did you receive the gift you ordered for him?" Jiraiya responded. Minato gave a nod. "Yes, Tenjiao finished them yesterday. I bet that Naruto will love them," Minato replied. He gave them a look. The statement, "I have to go. Please, don't be late. Naruto is really eager with this birthday," was followed by a yellow flash that vanished. Compound Uzumaki, hours later. Wearing his Western-style suit, Naruto took another look at the tables laden with a variety of foods, particularly the ramen that was brought in from Ichiraku's. Despite his refusal to acknowledge it, he was anxious. He threw a party at his apartment during his first year at the academy, inviting every student in his class and spending a small fortune on it. No one showed up. Except for the dinner the old man invited him to, he didn't celebrate any more birthdays after that day. And the enigmatic individual who left him presents every year. He hoped she would identify the person when he found out his mother was constantly with him, but she claimed she couldn't see anything. His face was touched by a warm hand. "Don't worry, Naruto. They will come this time. They are your friends after all," Kushina replied. Naruto turned and gazed in wonder at his mother. Kushina was dressed in a Western-style dress, which is a common fashion choice for these nations' royal ladies. It was an entirely different style from the kimonos worn by Fire Country's high society ladies, and Kushina wore it to great effect. He rambled, Mom. You look so beautiful." Kushina gave a small laugh. "Thanks, Naruto. I hope our guests feel the same way." Wearing his suit, Minato added, "The male guests will like it for sure. Min-kun, stop complaining. Finally, we cut the cleavage the way you requested," Kushina said, laughing. The door was knocked on. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune were able to enter after a Demiclone opened it. As he gave Naruto a gift and pulled his ear 11 times, he said, "Congratulations, brat. You are now 11 years old." When Jiraiya did the same on his own birthdays, Minato smiled and reminded him that it was a really impolite way to wish someone a happy birthday. When Tsunade was about to congratulate him, Naruto shivered, worried that the medic might use her monstrous strength to pull his ears. Instead, she simply gave him a hug and a forehead kiss. As they waited for the other guests to arrive, the women started chatting about various topics. Minato also reminded Jiraiya of what he did to people who were staring at his wife's cleavage. The door was knocked on by another person. Shikamaru and his parents were present this time. Shikaku was pleased when Kushina kissed each of the Naras cheeks to greet them, but not so much when Arashi did the same with Yoshino. When Naruto greeted his friend, he saw that the youthful genius was not feeling very well. "Shikamaru, how are you? You seem a little worn out," I said. "Not as good as I'd like it to be. By the way, congratulations," Shikamaru replied. "I'm grateful." "Shika, what was going on?" inquired Naruto. "It's my mom. She is encouraging me to work out because she wants me to be as fit as possible. She also wants me to continue learning those dull academy lessons that I am already familiar with in the future." Shikamaru grumbled, "She won't stop pushing me until I realize my potential and rank among the best in the class. However, why is she acting in that way?" Naruto remarked, "She wasn't so worried about your grades before." Shikamaru gazed up at the heavens. "That trip to Suna changed everything. I became the semi-official boyfriend of the daughter of the Yondaime Kazekage after I showed my true potential." Shikamaru remarked, "My mother believes that in order for me to avoid embarrassing a kunoichi of Temari's category, I must be an exceptional ninja." Naruto's expression lightened. "Talking about Gaara's sister, you are going to have a very pleasant surprise," Naruto said. Shikamaru sensed something was wrong. "Don't you tell me that." When he announced the next guests, the Demiclone at the door verified it. "The Sandaime Kazekage accompanied by his grand-nephews has arrived. Troublesome." Contrary to popular belief, Naruto's birthday, October 10th, was not a particularly significant day in Konoha. The days of October 13th, when the Kyuubi was seen traveling to Konoha, and October 17th, when the Yondaime defeated the beast, were also noteworthy. Once more, some people would be misinformed about the anniversary of the Kyuubi's defeat, which is October 17th. The fox death was not commemorated with a festival in Konoha. First, the fox wasn't dead because they would be celebrating a lie. Second, There was nothing to rejoice about because the Kyuubi attack was a tragedy in which Konoha suffered some significant losses. That day, there was a small ceremony in which the Hokage thanked the heroes for their self-sacrificing actions and urged the villagers to honor them. Naruto learned that some villagers had been kinder to him that day. He didn't know why, but he assumed that the Yondaime was partly to blame because he was his idol. This was before he was reunited with his father once more and told the truth. Because the Hokage was an inept fool who couldn't protect a single boy, there weren't ninjas, civilians, or hordes of irate villagers looking to lynch Naruto. It was a phenomenon that only occurred in certain warped realities. Regarding mobs, a particular time traveler with a pineapple-style hairstyle would be happy to deal with one of them rather than confront his unofficial girlfriend and fellow time traveler unprepared. Thankfully, Kushina provided him with the necessary diversion when she embraced and kissed the oblivious Sand siblings. "Excuse me, madam, but who are you and why you act like you know us?" replied Gaara. His siblings asked the same question. Of course, Kankuro had no problem with being kissed by a gorgeous woman. Naruto showed up and gave them a hug. "Gaara, I didn't know you would come too. Did you made all the way from Suna just to attend to my birthday?" he said. Kazekage stepped in. "The truth is that we came here for an official visit to greet the new Hokage. He thought that this party would be a good place for the meeting," he stated. Temari pointed to Kushina and said, "By the way, who's the lady?" Kushina feigned embarrassment over failing to introduce herself. "I'm very sorry, I forgot that you weren't here when I returned. I'm Lady Kushina Uzumaki, Minato's wife and Naruto's mother," she replied. "What?" For the next few minutes, Minato took Shikamaru's parents on a tour of the house so they wouldn't hear the story, while Naruto and Kushina told them about her existence as a ghost and her rebirth using the flesh clone technique. The disappearance of Shikamaru went unnoticed. Given that he had just learned that Temari, Kankuro, and a few Konoha ninjas were time travelers, Gaara handled the story quite well. Although Temari thought her story with Shikamaru was very romantic, it was nothing in comparison to Minato and Kushina's, and she felt a little jealous. Without a word, the Kazekage went to salute Jiraiya. Although Kankuro considered Minato to be a lucky bastard, he found it somewhat unsettling that his wife was aware of his thoughts. Gaara gave Naruto a look. "Naruto, I expect that you know how lucky you are. Treat well your mother and make her proud. If I get word that you make suffer I won't forgive you," he stated. He treated his mother like a queen. Naruto exploded, and he started a wrestling match with Gaara, whose Sand didn't react to Naruto. The scene made Kushina and the older siblings laugh. It was uncommon for Gaara to smile and behave more like a boy his age, even for Temari and Kankuro. Only Naruto appeared to be able to remove that aspect of Gaara. Gaara believed most his life that the voice inside his head was his mother's. "I thought that he would be a bit envious of Naruto after finding out that he regained me, but it looks like I don't have to worry about that," said Kushina. She gave Temari a look. With a playful tone, "Have you seen Shikamaru? Your boyfriend is also here, Temari." He is not my boyfriend. I admit that I feel a bit attracted to him but we don't have a formal relationship," replied Temari. Kankuro stepped in. "People in Suna don't think the same. Since news spreaded through Suna about Temari having a boyfriend in Konoha, many boys have confessed to Temari. She literally has to wipe them out with her fan, but that's not the fun part," Kankuro said with a wry grin. Kushina inquired, "Is there anything more?" "Yes. They think that Shikamaru is a handsome and tall guy on his mid-teens, a strong and energetic chunin of Konoha, not a lazy academy student who stares at clouds," laughed Kankuro. Shikamaru joined the group and commented, "Troublesome. Before I notice it, I will have Suna ninjas before my door asking for a duel." His presence didn't seem to have an impact on Temari. "Oh hello, Pineapple Head, we were talking about the problems you were causing to me in Suna. Where have you been?" she responded. Shikamaru handed her a bouquet of flowers and said, "Well, we are in peace. You also caused some to me here in Konoha. By the way, I have something for you." Although Kushina would have to speak with the Nara later about taking someone else's property without their consent, Temari's response made the loss worthwhile. Kushina recognized the flowers from one of the garden's pots. Temari acted in a girlish manner that was completely out of character for her when she saw the flowers. She squealed and gave him a hug, saying, "These flowers are for me. Oh my, they are beautiful, thank you Shikamaru." Kushina appeared shocked by Temari's response. "Don't be so strained, Kushina-san. We came from a desert, where plants are extremely rare. Suna has an important market where we get wares from other countries, but fresh flowers can't survive a travel through the desert, so we don't get them. Our village also has some of the best greenhouses that ever existed, but they are dedicated exclusively for medicinal and poisonous plants. For a woman from Suna, receiving some flowers is the same as receiving a precious stone like an emerald or a sapphire, said Konkuro. A woman said, "Ahem, do we interrupt something?" Tamari and Shikamaru turned to face the Nara's mother, her husband, and Arashi. After blushing, Tamari let go of Shikamaru. His father looked at him with pride in his eyes, likely because he had gotten such a lovely girl at such a young age, while his mother smiled at them without expressing whether she was pleased or upset with them. The demi-clone at the door announced that more guests were arriving, but the Uzumakis would have loved to see the talk. Hiyashi Hyuga, Hinata Hyuga, Neji Hyuga and Hanabi Hyuga have arrived, stated. For formal meetings, Hiyashi and Neji wore the Hyuga's traditional robes, while Hinata wore the kimono that Kushina had given her. For her part, Hanabi was dressed in a brand new, specially made kimono so as not to offend her sister. The young girl, who had watched Kushina fight on television, was staring at her in wonder, expecting to see the person she dubbed the Ninja Princess. She was actually acting quite similarly to Hinata when she was around Naruto. Kushina managed to make Neji and Hiyashi blush as she greeted everyone by kissing their cheeks. She gave Hanabi a look. As Kushina pinched Hanabi's cheeks, she exclaimed, "Oh my god, you are so adorable. You are just as gorgeous as your sister." When Hiyashi gave him a glare that said, "I don't care who your sensei is, who your parents are, or what you will become in the future. If you get fresh with my daughter you will know the true meaning of pain," Naruto decided to greet his friend more casually instead of kissing Hinata on the cheek as he had planned to do. "I'm very happy to see that you could come, Hinata-chan," he replied. I'm glad to be here too, Naruto-kun. Has anybody else arrived?" replied Hinata. "Yes, Ero Sennin, Tsunade Bachan, Shizune Nichan, Shikamaru with his parents and Gaara with his siblings accompanied by their grand uncle," replied Naruto. "The Kazekage is here too. When word spreads about this I wouldn't be surprised if other counselors begin to complain for not being invited to this party," said Hiyashi. The house was visited by more people. The Yamanakas, dressed to the nines, came after the Hyugas. Ino started bombarding Tamari with inquiries about what qualities she thinks a slacker like Shikamaru possesses. Then came the Harunos. To the surprise of some, Sakura's mother turned out to be a very nice and lovable person. She might have inherited her nature from her father. It's nothing out of the ordinary. If you happen to meet a man with pink hair, you'll probably end up with very thin skin. Haku and Zabuza were the next to guess. Regretfully, the ice user was wearing a kimono he had previously used during those infiltration missions in which he pretended to be a girl because he had neglected to purchase a new one. The outcome, to Sakura and Ino's dismay, Haku appeared more attractive than the other girls. Ten and her father Tenjiao then showed up. When Naruto introduced the girl to Tsunade and his mother, the two most powerful women in Konoha's history, she was on fire. Zabuza sensed that someone had been looking at his sword ever since they got there. Sai arrived next, by herself. The pale boy was still a Danzo spy, Minato reminded himself, and would likely try to obtain some secrets from the house. Fortunately, the defenses he put in place would completely surprise him. The Inuzukas and the Akamikas arrived simultaneously. Choji inquired as to when they would start eating, but Kiba continued to gripe about having to take a bath. The next to arrive were Shino and his father, who instantly blended in with the throng as if they hadn't attended the celebration. Then Yakumo Kurama and one of her clansmen showed up. She was warmly welcomed by Ino and Sakura, who were delighted to see another girl. Sarutobi, Kaharu, and Homura, their respective grandparents, accompanied the Konohamaru Corps upon their arrival. Now that they were off duty, the Sandame's teammates appeared surprisingly content and at ease. It was a very uncommon sight to see Guy and Lee without their green jumpsuits. They were followed by Anko and Aruka. The teacher was initially hesitant to attend since, in his capacity as a teacher, he had to be impartial toward all of his students. Attending one of their birthday parties would be blatantly biased. Fortunately, Jiraiya specifically ordered him to attend the party, claiming that he needed to discuss the academy program with him. Tsuki, Ebisu, and his daughter Ayame were also invited to the celebration. There were just 2 people missing. You invited Sasuke, didn't you? I got this new kimono just to impress him, Sakura said in a slightly flirtatious manner. Yes, I did. Probably he didn't want to come, or probably something delayed him, said Naruto. They were heard with concern by the Sandaime. He was afraid Sasuke wouldn't believe him when he told him the truth about what actually transpired during the Uchiha massacre and would act irrationally. At last, Kakashi and Sasuke showed up. The Hitachi excused themselves by stating that they had to assist an elderly woman with her feline. The Uchiha was so preoccupied with his thoughts that he didn't even react when Ino and Sakura kissed him on the cheeks to greet him, citing the custom in that household as an excuse. The stack of presents was enormous. Naruto could start opening them now that everyone was present. He began by mentioning Kushina's. With excitement, Naruto opened his mother's gift. What more did she get him? After what she had done to his room, she didn't need to buy him anything else, but he wouldn't object. A white with a hood and a Konoha symbol was inside the box. Except for the color, it was exactly like his father's. Wow, a cloak. Now I will look more like Dad. Thank you very much, Mom, he yelled. I'm glad to see that you like it, Naruto. Why don't you open your father's? I bet that you will love it too, Kushina replied. After giving Arashi a nod, Naruto opened his package. There were 2 3-pronged kunais inside of it. Naruto had to ask his father for assistance after noticing that they were obviously larger than the one he had. These kunais are perfect replicas of the ones I use in melee fighting. They are adapted to use them like short weapons, for that reason they are bigger than usual ones, but they are still effective as throwing weapons. Because they are made of chakra-conducting metal, you'll notice that it will easy to focus your chakra at the time we begin your elemental training, Arashi said. Naruto said, thank you very much, Dad. I will master them in no time. Tenten's father was extremely proud of the excellent kunais, as noted by the other ninjas. The girls, especially Hinata, saw that Naruto looked great in white, while the other boys gazed at the kunais with envy. Naruto then opened the remaining parcels. There were additional ninja items, such as the full first aid kit from Tsunade or the set of kunais that Tenten gave him. The remaining presents included more commonplace items like a bowl of ramen, video games, books, and toys. Sai's portrait of Naruto with his parents was the one that had the biggest impact on Naruto. When Minato revealed his identity to Konoha, he made a self-promise to ask Sai for another one without his mask. Naruto appeared disappointed when he opened the one from Jiraiya and discovered that it was a collection of his signed books. What? These are the dreadful books that Kakashi reads. Ero Sennin, do you call this an appropriate gift for me? Said Naruto. What are you talking about? These are special editions of Jiraiya-sama's greatest hits and signed by him, Kankuro yelled. Jiraiya questioned the puppeteer, wait, are you one of my readers? From a scroll, Kankuro opened a collection of Jiraiya's books. Yes, I am. I'm your greatest fan in Suna. By the way, could you sign my copies? I would be very happy, replied Kankuro. Jiraiya proclaimed, of course. All for my fans. As he signed the books. Kakashi said, could you sign mine too, Hokage-sama? Everyone was sweating at the sight of the perverts, with the exception of Sarutobi, who already had signed editions, and Ebisu, who was a closet pervert. Jiraiya smiled mischievously at Naruto. By the way, as Hokage I establish the tradition of pulling the ear of the celebrant one time for each year he achieves. This will teach you to despise my refined literature, he continued. When Naruto noticed how many of his friends were grinning and making pulling motions with their fingers, he went pale. The people who merely wanted to congratulate him were running away from him before he knew it. Someone grabbed him during the escape and pulled him behind a bush so the others couldn't find him. Naruto shielded his ears and said, leave my ears alone. Oh, it's you Hinata, you don't want to pull my ears too, don't you? With her, Hinata denied it. Hinata handed Naruto a packet and said, don't worry about that, Naruto-kun. I just wanted to give you something. What? But your father already gave me that ancient and rare book of poetry, he replied. Even though Hinata was more accustomed to being around Naruto, she was still very red and had to work hard to express her feelings to him. Avoiding eye contact, she said, well. That was my family's gift. This is only mine. Naruto was stunned by the gift when he opened the package. The box contained a pair of goggles, the same ones he had eyed curiously when they were displayed in a store the day before his father returned. He made a promise to himself when he first saw them that he would save money to purchase them, but he forgot all about it after his father returned and the events that followed. The weight was killing Hinata, and she was unable to guess his thoughts on her gift. Don't you like them? And Naruto-kun replied. Stars filled Naruto's eyes as he gazed at her. Are you serious? I adore them, she cried. He dragged her to where the adults were talking, forgetting his pursuers. Naruto pointed proudly at the Googles and exclaimed, Mom, Dad. Look at the amazing gift that Hinata-chan gave me. They will be perfect when I learn to fly. Kushina's smile was too obvious. Hinata left presents for Naruto on each of his birthdays since she grew to love and respect him. She was the source of items like the frog purse and the hippo nightcap. She was thrilled to see that, as her confidence grew, Hinata at last found the bravery to present her gift to Naruto face to face. When Hinata saw how much Naruto enjoyed the Googles, she was relieved. Naruto kissed Hinata's cheek without giving it any thought. Thank you very much, Hinata-chan. This is one of the coolest things I ever got, replied. She smiled as she fainted because the shock was too much for her. It looks like his kisses have the opposite effect than the ones seen in fairy tales, said Anko. Hinata, what happened to you? Are you sick? Bachan, could you check on Hinata? I think that he is ill, said a worried Naruto. Kiba said, hey look. There is him. To the ears, over her shoulder. Jiraiya appeared amused by Naruto's efforts to shield his ears. I think that I'll have to special emphasis about females during the brat's training. He is as dense as I remember him, said the cage. Hiyashi's realization struck him as he observed his daughter's smile. She loves him, was a startling thought. Sasuke, meanwhile, went to Sarutobi. The Sandaime said, hello, Sasuke. How are you? Have you thought about what I said you? Sasuke gave a nod. Yes, I couldn't think about anything else. I accept your proposal, I'll be your apprentice. Sasuke, meanwhile, went to Sarutobi. The Sandaime said, hello, Sasuke. How are you? Have you thought about what I said you? Sasuke gave a nod. Yes, I couldn't think about anything else. I accept your proposal, I'll be your apprentice. Sarutobi was relieved, but when he visited him following the test with Kushina, Haruka, and Anko, Sasuke didn't take it well when they discussed the fate of his clan. Flashback. Sasuke, I came to tell you something very important, it concerns your clan. Sasuke gave him a troubled look. He said, my clan. What do you mean? As he cleared his thoughts, Sarutobi inhaled. He would need to use extreme caution when speaking. What I'm going to tell you is an A-class secret, you can't share it with anybody under death penalty. Do you still want to know about it? Replied Sarutobi. An A-class secret concerning my clan. Sasuke found this surprising. The statement, I understand, Sandaime-sama, I won't tell it to anybody, was made almost immediately. Sarutobi pondered, he didn't boggle about it. I wonder how he will take it. Sarutobi said, all right. As you know, your brother, Itachi Uchiha was an Anbu captain, before Sasuke's intent to kill interrupted. Sasuke said, I know about it, Sarutobi-sama. Sarutobi thought, somewhat dejectedly, such aggression within somebody so young. Nor Orochimaru nor Danzo were like that when they were his age. Sarutobi went on, quote, What you didn't know was that Itachi also worked as a covert agent spying the Uchiha clan for me, Sarutobi replied. What? Sasuke exclaimed. Sarutobi glanced at Konoha through the window. Quote, After the Kyuubi attack, rumors about members of the Uchiha clan being able to control the beast spread throughout the village. Many people began to suspect about the Uchihas being the responsibles of the attack, Sarutobi continued. What the hell are you talking about? This is ridiculous. Many Uchihas died during the attack. And besides, why would my clan would want to destroy Konoha? They were in charge of the police department, said Sasuke. He agreed with Sarutobi. Yes, it is ridiculous. But people tend to follow fear before common reason. Because that, many members of your clan were angry with Konoha, to the point that many of them thought about taking control of the Uchiha clan and later coming to a coup d'etat, taking the control of Konoha. This is when Itachi comes into play, Sarutobi replied. Sasuke gave the former Kage his full attention as he spoke. Your father, Itachi, my counselors and I prepared a plan to discover the conspirators. For that reason Itachi and Fugaku pretended to be in disagreement with each other, so the decontent Uchihas would get in contact with him, Sarutobi continued. Asking, and what happened? Sasuke asked. Quote, Uchiha Shisui got in contact with Itachi and told him about the conspiration, who was implied to and asked him to join them. Itachi was shocked to see that his best was one of them and asked to change his mind, then Shisui tried to kill Itachi. Your brother had to defend himself and killed Shisui. It awakened the Mangenkyu Sharingan, Sarutobi continued. Sasuke said, Mangenkyu Sharingan. Yes, it is an advanced version of the normal Sharingan, not seen since Uchiha Madara's times. The Mangenkyu Sharingan is created by an overwhelming guilt feeling. For Itachi it came from killing his best friend, Sarutobi replied. When Itachi's Sharingan transformed into a three-pronged shuriken, Sasuke was reminded. Sarutobi inhaled. This was the part Sasuke didn't want to be reminded of. Now that we knew who were the traitors, we conceived a plan to catch the conspirators. Itachi and Fugaku would apprehend the conspirators with the help of those who were loyal to him, while I would make sure that nobody would be near the Uchiha district that night. This way Konoha wouldn't know about the conspiration and your clan's honor would be intact. But things went horribly wrong. With his Sharingan activated, Sasuke yelled, Itachi killed everyone. Is that the reason nobody came? Did you abandon my clan at his mercy? Sarutobi remained composed as the worst part arrived. Yes, Sasuke, that's exactly what I thought during all this time. I can't forgive myself for what happened. But recently I discovered that what happened that night was not the truth, at least the complete one, Sarutobi replied. Sasuke exclaimed, what are you talking about? Recently it has been discovered that there was somebody else in the Uchiha compound. Itachi was strong, a prodigy and had the Mangenkyu, but I highly doubt that he could wipe out an entire clan like the Uchiha without help. Even more, we suspect that Itachi could be innocent, stated Tsuruboti. When Sasuke could take it no more, he attempted to strike the Sandaime. Sarutobi avoided and deflected his blows. Innocent. He can't be innocent. He did it. He said that he killed the clan to test his power. He used a genjutsu to make me watch how he killed my family. He told me to hate him. To become stronger. To kill him. Sasuke cried out. Sasuke was immobilized by Sarutobi. Then tell me, if Itachi wanted to test his power, why he didn't attack any notorious shinobi during these years? Why he spared your life and told you to become stronger? Are you sure that those images you saw with Itachi killing the clan were what really happened? You said it. They were a genjutsu, Sarutobi said with an authoritative expression. At Sarutobi's grab, Sasuke paused to resist. Sasuke, I knew Itachi before you were in this world. He used to be a very reserved person, but the day you were born he changed. He never was so happy. He talked about his little brother all time and was extremely proud of his talent. He used to comment with a smile that someday you would surpass him, Sarutobi replied. Sasuke could not speak. One thought was, Itachi thought about me like that. Sarutobi let Sasuke go. The only way to clarify what really happened is to capture Itachi and talk with him. I only ask you to not let yourself be carried by hate before knowing all the truth, said Sandaime. Sasuke suddenly remembered Itachi staring at him and then walking away with a tear in his eye. How could he have forgotten such a thing? Sasuke said, I need to think about it. Sarutobi gave a nod. There's something else I wanted to talk with you. Now that I don't have the responsibilities of a Hokage bothering me, I can start a project I had in mind, Sarutobi replied. Sasuke, still preoccupied, asked, what are you talking about? I'm planning to rebuild Konoha's police force. As you know, it was the Uchiha's duty, said Sarutobi. Now, Sasuke was giving the former Kage his whole attention once more. For that reason I need you. The new police force wouldn't be the same without a Uchiha leading it. For that reason I ask you to become my apprentice and help me with this duty. At the time you become a Jonin you would be ready to take charge of the rebuilt police force, the Sandaime stated. Final flashback. Sarutobi saw this as an opportunity to atone for his error in allowing Orochimaru to get away. In addition to attacking Konoha, his former pupil will attempt to kidnap Sasuke and use him as his new vessel. No, he won't let it happen. He will try his hardest to protect Sasuke from Orochimaru's corrupting influence, and he won't think twice about killing him the next time. In addition to being an excellent method for Sasuke to gain the strength necessary to battle Itachi, this was also an opportunity for him to fulfill his other objective, which was to restore the honor of his clan. Although Sasuke's hatred for Itachi remained constant, the sight of Itachi's tears and Sandaime's words had changed. He needed to know the truth about what actually transpired that night before he could kill Itachi. Unaware of this, Naruto stroked his poor ears and opened the remaining gifts. Unaware of his parents' reactions when they saw the gift, he really liked the green spandex suit that Guy and Lee had given him. As a pity that the demiclone in charge of the laundry will have a very unfortunate accident with that monstrosity, said Kushina. The demiclones joined several tables to form a large table for the meal. Tsunade chose to place the younger children in the laps of some adults in order to address the issue of there not being enough chairs for everyone when the guests were seated. Jiraiya became envious when Konohamaru sat on Tsunade's lap while Moegi and Udon ended up sitting on their grandparents. To Kushina's delight, Hanabi took a seat on her lap. When the young girl asked, Kushina changed her hairstyle and demonstrated her hair technique. Now that the young children were seated, everyone had a place. Sakura and Ino were positioned beside Sasuke, and they were vying for his food. Sasuke thought angrily, I'm not a baby who needs help to eat. Hinata and Naruto were seated in front of one another. Except for Hiyashi, who was more interested in them than the food, no one else noticed the Hyuga girl's sporadic glances at Naruto. Temari was sitting by his mother's side, much to Shikamaru's dismay. The two women got along really well, as would later happen, and engaged in animated conversation, occasionally pausing to give him a critical glance. Gaara was seated in front of him, Kankuro by his side, as if that weren't enough. Gaara pointed to his eyes and said, "So, you are Temari's boyfriend?" Shikamaru replied, "Why yes I am. I hope that you will treat my sister well, Nara. She is one of the most important persons in my life and I would be very angry if someone hurts her," Gaara replied. Kankuro covered Shikamaru's shoulders with his arm. Shikamaru swallowed. The conversation with the protective siblings was about to begin. Although Temari Ne-chan could be annoying sometimes, she is still our sister. She is risking her prestige having a relationship with a younger boy who is not even a ninja yet. I really expect that you will do your best to earn a reputation as ninja, not being a lazy ass anymore, Kankuro said with a grin. That is not a concern, Shikamaru replied. Kankuro grinned. Excellent. I also should suggest you to be very attentive with Temari to treat her like she was the most important person in the world, in a similar way Naruto did in the future with his girlfriend, Kankuro replied. Shikamaru brought to mind the moment Naruto and Hinata started dating. His friend did some amazing stunts, such as filling the Hyuga compound with white roses or painting the Hokage monument with their names inside a heart, because he felt so bad about not recognizing Hinata's feelings. When Naruto was passing by to use the restroom, he overheard their conversation, but none of them noticed. With interest, I asked myself, am I going to have a girlfriend? Who could she be? Is she beautiful? After they finished their meal, Arashi saw that Hanabi was blushing slightly and giving him a funny Kushina look. Kushina urged Hanabi-chan, come on, ask him. Arashi smiled as he glanced at Hanabi. He said, what do you want, Hanabi-chan? Hanabi tried to look as cute as she could as she gazed at him. With puppy dog eyes, Hanabi said, Anyo, Arashi-san. I was wondering if you could give me one of your flying rides. Arashi took Hanabi in his arms and replied, of course, it will be a pleasure to give a ride to such a lovely young lady. Hanabi's enjoyment of the flight was viewed with envy by the Konohamaru Corps. Arashi was forced to take them on a ride since they were staring at him with puppy dog eyes when he landed. Since Shino's gift was karaoke, Jiraiya thought it would be a good idea to hold a little competition to see how creative the presents could be. In any case, no one wanted to hear Guy and Lee sing again after their duet won the prize for the most passionate ones. Sakura was a very good singer and received a lot of applause, but a duet between Kushina and a slightly inebriated Anko won first prize. This had nothing to do with Jiraiya being the judge or the fact that Anko was exposing more skin than Iruka would have liked. Everyone went home after the party. The Kazekage agreed to Shikamaru's father's offer for the Sand delegation to stay at the Nara's house as long as they remained in Konoha. Kankuro said to Shikamaru, I hope that you won't take advantage of the situation and sneak on Temari's room. Shikamaru remained silent because the day was already problematic. Afterwards, Kushina made her way to Naruto's new chamber. With additional items, the former guest's room now resembled Naruto's old room from his apartment. That day, Naruto woke up to discover that his mother had decorated the room and stuffed it with gifts. Upon opening them, he discovered that they were items he had previously desired but was unable to purchase. As they embraced with tears in their eyes, Kushina told Naruto that it was a way to make up for the birthdays he had missed. With one of Jiraiya's books in his hands, Naruto was now dozing off over the bed. There were 2 books that Jiraiya gave Naruto that were not erotic, as it turned out. Among them was the book that gave Naruto his name, The Legend of the Heroic Ninja. Naruto Uzumaki's Tale. the biography of Naruto's future self, was the other. Naruto was eager to read these books after learning their true nature. After taking the book, Kushina placed it on the shelf. Then, as she always did at night, she put the blanket over Naruto and kissed his forehead. At the door, Minato grinned and said, "I feel a bit jealous." He was kissed on the lips by Kushina. "Naruto is my world, you are my life. There's no need to be jealous, Min-kun. I have love for you both," Kushina replied. "Is not that, I'm jealous of Naruto because I never had such a loving mother like you, Kushi-chan. Are you sure to keep going with this and fight with me against our enemies? I know how much you love kids, the way you interacted with Hanabi was a good proof," said Minato. Kushina gave a nod. "Yes, I have the feeling that our enemies will attack this time stronger than ever. All help possible wouldn't be enough," she replied. She made the decision to shift the topic. Kushina blushed slightly and said, "Minkin, when you gave the kids a ride I realized something." Minato asked, "What was?" "I realized that you never took me in a flight. Could you?" she said. Minato went to the door after putting on her bridal gown. With a sly smile, Minato said, "All for my beloved. By the way, there are some things that I realized you could do with the hair." With yet another mischievous grin, Kushina remarked, "I'm all ears." In a different place, Madara's plans didn't work out as expected. His initial goal was to gather the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Sasori's control over the cage and the slight confusion brought on by the Chunin exams would allow Sasori and Kaworu to easily capture the Shukaku. However, Naruto and the Yondaime had to show up and ruin everything. In order to transform the insane boy into the Yondaime cage and one of his future adversaries, Naruto first makes friends with Gaara and plants the seeds. The kidnapping of Gaara is then stopped by Minato and his goons, who also murder Sasori and Kaworu. In addition, he became the Sandaime cage's ally and was able to bring him back to life. Since the Hachibi and his brother, the Raikage, were also in Suna and now knew of Akatsuki's scheme to gather the Biju, Madara, if he were a Hyuga, would believe that fate was conspiring against him. The Hachibi and the Nibi would now also be well protected. The Suna events also demonstrated that Minato's Attaka's companions traveled through time. 2 of the 4 Hokages that Konoha now had were training Naruto. Additionally, there was the enigmatic Kunoichi who claimed to be Naruto's mother. Madara nearly lost it when he learned that she and Naruto were distant relatives of the Senju clan, which gave him even more reason to despise them. Now, it would be suicidal to attack Konoha. However, there were alternatives. Throughout his time in Akatsuki, Madara imitated 2 methods from Orochimaru. The first was the Edo Tensai, which summons the dead as the summoner's minions and is now totally ineffective against Minato. The other was the method where the user creates the ideal disguise by stealing the skin of the person he wishes to impersonate. Of course, that person had to die. With his new identity as a shinobi war veteran, Madara gazed at the gates of Iwa. As Madara entered the village, he thought, the previous owner of this skin should be grateful. I'm going to turn him into a historical figure and the man who avenged Iwa from the Yellow Flash crimes. Mizuki went to the location where they were to meet their contact with the stupid brothers. It was a little hut on the forest of Konoha. A hooded figure was standing by, anticipating their arrival. Mizuki gazed at the figure defiantly. "I suppose that you are our mysterious benefactor. Would you mind to tell us who are you?" said he. The figure used his head to deny. "Yes, I mind. I'm just an agent of your ally. For security reasons I'm not authorized to reveal you my identity," the figure replied. Because of the voice distorter he was using, Mizuki concluded that the individual had to be male, though he was unsure. "I'm hungry, brother," said Fujin. "Me too," Raijin replied. Mizuki became anxious. The stupid brothers were imprisoned because, when hungry, they became irrational killers who did not distinguish between friends and enemies. His enigmatic ally stepped in. The figure entering the food said, "We considered this possibility. Please follow me inside." They discovered a table laden with a variety of foods, enough to feed 20 men. With no regard for anything else, the brothers leapt for the food and started gorging themselves. Mizuki caught the hooded figure's attention. "I suppose that you followed the instructions and added the special pills in their food, don't you?" he replied. Mizuki gave a nod. "Yes, I did. During last months they were taking the pills without noticing them." "What did they do, by the way?" replied. "It is a special formula that will make them stronger. The substance has been inactive in their bodies all this time, it needs a special catalyst to be activated, the statistic stated. Mizuki smiled and said, and I suppose that the catalyst is contained within the food they are having now, isn't it? The man in the hood gave a nod. Yes, it is. In an hour or so, it will begin to take effect, replied. Mizuki wanted to see what would become of those two fools. What about the improvement that was promised to me? Asked the man. From his cloak, the figure retrieved a vial. Here it is. I prepared it myself, combining the marrow of a tiger and a secret formula. Your strength, speed, agility and your senses will improve dramatically. If we add to the mix your physical training and the techniques you acquired, you'll be easily able to beat an elite Jonin without too much effort, said the figure who handed Mizuki the vial. The missing nin eagerly accepted the vial and gulped down the contents. Soon after, he experienced excruciating pain throughout his body. The stupid brothers experienced something similar. Convulsing, it appeared that the catalyst was acting more quickly than anticipated. The hooded man simply stood grinning as he observed them. Mizuki looked at himself in a nearby mirror after the pain subsided. He now had orange-toned fur with black stripes through his skin. His ears resembled the animal from which he had stolen the strength more than they did the human. Mizuki lost her nails, and in their place were strong claws that could rip through flesh and armor like paper. He also had the impression that someone had taken away his veil. His senses were sharper than ever. He could smell the flower that was growing up by the door and see the tiny ant that was moving close to the window. Naturally, he was aware of the power coursing through him now. He was certain that he would destroy his adversaries with this newfound power. He glanced at the stupid brothers, who didn't seem to be trying anything new. Fujin said, "Wow, that was a really spicy meal, don't you think so, bro?" "Yeah, I bet that we will have another fart contest this night," said Raijin. Mizuki told himself that his new sense would appreciate it if he didn't start close to them. The man in the hood turned to face them. Before disappearing in a whirl of leaves, he said, "I will be waiting in the rendezvous point until sunset. If you don't appear before that time with the Uzumaki boy alive, I'll assume that you failed." Mizuki was enthralled. The moment of his retaliation was drawing nearer. In the meantime, the conflict between Konoha's ninja forces and the runaway inmates was now taking place in the forest. The ninjas from Konoha were winning. Many of the fugitives were former Konoha ninjas who had somehow ended up behind bars, but they were by no means easy pickings. Fortunately, the former ninja inmates lacked adequate equipment, and the rigorous prison regulations prevented them from gaining enough combat experience to take on an experienced ninja. Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata noticed that Hayate's group was battling a group of prisoners. The older ninjas were initially a little taken aback by the two children joining them, but after being reminded of their participation in Suna events and seeing their Konoha headbands, they came to the conclusion that their Jonin-sensei had ordered them to be there. In any case, Hayate instructed them to refrain from interfering unless absolutely required. He was confronted by a fugitive he knew from his pre-Jonin days, a former Chunin who continued to regard Raida as such. When he noticed that one of the inmates was going to kill a rookie Chunin who was too preoccupied with battling another opponent to notice him, the ill Jonin had just finished knocking him out. However, a white, black, and orange blur materialized before the enemy could harm the ninja. Naruto yelled, "Rasengan," as he forcefully pushed the prisoner in the direction of a tree while slamming a blue ball into his stomach. A few inmates who had been found guilty of attempting to violate Sandaime's law came to Naruto. In response, he made some clones, and Hinata seemed to assist him. For those prisoners, the combination of clones and a Hyuga proved to be too much. The battle soon came to an end, and the prisoners were bound. Both sides' wounded were attended to by Hinata, with the Rasengan recipient requiring the most medical care. Hayate went to Naruto, who chose to speak first after noticing an impending reprimand in the Jonin's face. "Yes, I know, I'm only a scouter and I should have stayed away from the fight, but I saw that the prisoner was about to attack one of us from behind and I couldn't let it happen," said Naruto. Hayate started to perspire. Hayate replied, Yes. Well done, by the way. Thank you, Hayate-san. Now that I realized it, aren't you supposed to be the sick ninja, the one who looks about die? You didn't cough anything since we met earlier," said Naruto. The Jonin let out a sigh. Ever since he turned into a genin, he has been carrying around that bothersome moniker. He was stuck with a nickname that led people to believe he was a degenerate simply because of his fragile health, which had no bearing whatsoever on his ninja career. As he observed how Hinata had completed healing the ninjas, Hayate remarked nonchalantly, I assume that you are in the same genin team as Hinata-san, don't you? Where are your sensei and your other teammate? Tsunade-sama managed to fix my coughing problem. As he was cleaning his goggles, Naruto answered, no, we are not teammates. We were not assigned to a team yet, we just graduated today. Hayate went pale. What? Are why you telling me that you didn't meet Ujonin-sensei and pass the real test yet, said Hayate. Hinata walked over to them and said, Anyo. What test are you talking about, Hayate-san? Yeah, what test is that? Are you telling us that we are not ninjas yet, replied Naruto. Hayate's headache started. Yes, that's it, if a graduate from the academy doesn't get his assigned Jonin-sensei's approval he is not considered a ninja and he is sent back to the academy, stated Hayate. Naruto became frightened. What? We are no ninjas yet. What about the graduation exam? He said. It is just a way to determine if the student has enough skill and knowledge to take the real test, Hayate said. Quote. That means that you are still civilians, you are not supposed to be here. Hinata questioned. Then what is going to happen? Hayate gave them a determined look. The rules are very clear. The security of Konoha's is the ninja's top priority. I'll escort you back to the village, stated. Hayate turned to face Achunin. Hayate gave the order, Geto, you are in charge, make sure that the prisoners don't escape. Hi, senpai, Geto cried. The way Hayate and the kids left the area was observed by the ninjas. One who was wearing a transceiver said, oh crap. A second person asked, what's going on? According to what I heard, it looks like that they are not the only graduates believing that they are already ninjas. Elsewhere, he had so many tenketsus closed that he would not be able to walk back to prison until they were reopened, so Neji examined the battered body of the fugitive he had sent away. That isn't his issue, though. He was more concerned with locating his cousin Hinata. He saw Naruto flying with Hinata on her arms shortly after learning of the prison escape. Since Naruto was the son of the Yondaime and the disciple of the Godime, it did not seem odd to Neji that he already mastered that technique. After all, fate had predetermined that he would accomplish great things. Neji was shocked to learn how far along Hinata-sama had come in her covert plan to woo Naruto, but he thought it was inappropriate that he was adopting Hinata-sama's bridal style. The next time he saw him, he ought to speak with the blonde. But when he met the Uchiha, a cat, and two of his fangirls, the less useful, based on what he knew, they told him that Naruto and Hinata were going to join the raid. Neji promised to track them down, protect Hinata, and beat Naruto for putting his cousin in such danger. Other graduates from Naruto's class, including the Akamaiki, Shino-san, Shikamaru-san, the Inuzuka boy, and Sai, joined them on their journey to the forest after they learned about the raid. They had to stop at the Tenten family's shop when they realized they were short on equipment. She learned about the expedition, hung the closed sign, and joined them. The Hyuga boy put his memories aside and turned to face the other members of the improv group. Their opponents were also vanquished by the other rookie genins. Unaware that other boys beat more than him, Kiba, the Inuzuka boy, boasted about the inmates he had beaten while his dog, Akamaru, barked in agreement. One of the inmates was being questioned by Shino and Sai. The poor man was unsure whether he was more frightened by Sai's snakes or Shino's threat to force his bugs to examine his orifices. Choji had a bag of chips in his mouth. After Shikamaru inactivated a group of fugitives, Choji used his human boulder no jutsu on them like ninepins, giving him and Shikamaru the highest prisoner count. Sakura and Ino were checking for any potentially fatal injuries. After every checkup, Tenten would have regarded them with a newfound respect if they hadn't inquired about Sasuke's well-being. When Sai and Shino had completed questioning the prisoner, Neji saw that they were tense. Neji asked, "What's going on? What have he told?" Shino's serious, unflappable face was fixed on him. According to what that prisoner heard, Mizuki and the stupid brothers are after Naruto. Our blonde friend only made things easier for them getting into the forest. In another area, at the rendezvous point, the hooded figure waited calmly. When he saw Naruto land in the forest not far from where Mizuki and the stupid brothers were going, it caught him off guard. Kabuto Yukushi took his hood off. "You are a real grab bag, Naruto-kun, no wonder why my master wants to get you. And not only that, but you brought the Hyuga heiress with you. It would be nice if they decide to bring her here as a bonus, if not, well, no one can't have everything. As long as they bring you alive Madara-sama, my true master, will be pleased, believed." With the notable exception of the Forest of Death, the forests that surrounded Konoha were typically quiet, serene areas where people could travel without risk. But now, those forests were the setting for a high-stakes game of cat and mouse in which Konoha ninjas were chasing groups of prisoners. One of those groups, which consisted of a Jonin and 2 children who arrived thinking they were already ninjas, was making their way towards Konoha by jumping from branch to branch. Hayate looked at Naruto on the way back to the village. The similarities with Yondaime-sama are unquestionable. I'm ashamed for not noticing it before. I can't imagine how the village would react at the time his father decides to reveal the truth, reflected. The last person to join the I know the truth about Arashi Uzumaki club was Hayate. He discovered the secret because Yugao, who was one of those people who spoke in dreams, accidentally revealed it to him one night. They spoke with her, who verified the information, and then they went to Minato and the others. Jiraiya suggested that Yugao enroll in a specialized meditation course to overcome his propensity to talk in his dreams. If she slipped secrets while she was asleep, all of her Anbu training to withstand torture and interrogation would be for nothing. Anko advised Yugao to wear a ball muzzle to bed, but that's a different matter. The ill-looking Jonin saw that his young friends appeared distressed upon learning that they were not yet ninjas. He chose to give them some encouragement. Don't take those faces. After seeing your skill, I'm completely sure that you will pass the true exam with flying colors. Besides, you are taking it a year prior than the time you were supposed to take it. Do you know that I failed the real test after I graduated and I was sent back to the academy, said Hayate. Naruto gave him a disinterested look. Really? And how old were you when you finally became a ninja? Replied. Hayate replied, well, I was 14. Hinata and Naruto appeared taken aback by him. You must understand it. I was born with a very bad health and I couldn't take the exam in the second try because I got sick the day before, said the Jonin. Surprisingly, however, the students looked at him with a comprehensive look instead of making jokes and laughing at his expense. Reminding himself that his future self had the longest genin period of his graduating class, Naruto reasoned, it was not your fault, you just had bad luck. There's no reason to be ashamed of something beyond your control. Why yes, the fact that you ended making Jonin although you started your ninja career so late proves that you were an excellent ninja, replied Hinata. Hayate was at a loss for words. In the end, the children were the ones cheering him on because he wanted to encourage them. Naruto gasped just as he was about to thank them. The others stopped when he said, wait, I'm feeling chakra signatures that are decreasing at an alarming rate somewhere near us. Hinata yelled, Byakugan, and activated her blood limit. Hinata pointed to a cluster of bushes in the ground and said, I see them, they are 5 persons about 15 meters away from us. They are hidden in those bushes. Oh my god, their chakra is decreasing very fast. To inspect the bushes, Hayate went down to the ground. One of the 5 Konoha ninjas he found in a terrible state was hardly recognizable as a member of his graduating class. Hayate questioned a barely conscious ninja, Mako. What happened? After landing next to the Jonin, Hinata started tending to the injured man. Her suspicions were confirmed when she quickly checked on the others using her Byakugan. They are in a very grievous state. If they don't receive medical attention immediately, they will die. Hinata cried as she tried her hardest to help her real patient. Hayate was unsure of how to proceed. If they attempted to go to the hospital and return with a group of medic ninjas, it would be too late for the majority of them because moving the ninjas alone would worsen their wounds and cause them to pass away before they arrived. Naruto paused to consider, then pulled a scroll out of the pocket of his cloak, unfolded it, and made 12 clones. The original Naruto then went on to prepare the scroll while the clones split up into 4 groups of 3 men and started working on the fallen ninjas. The synchronized writing of seal patterns in the scroll by the clones captivated Hayate. He is going to seal them. This way we will be able to bring them to the hospital without risking their lives and giving the medic nins all the time they needed to prepare the procedures, he was thinking. When the seals were prepared, the wounded men were absorbed by the seals as the clones and the original Naruto started to direct their chakra toward them. The clones vanished as soon as the final man was sealed, and the original Naruto nearly passed out. As she approached Naruto's side, Hayate worriedly asked, are you all right? Why yes, I am all right. It's just that I expended too much chakra. Sealing living beings, especially humans, takes insane amounts of chakra even for me, said Naruto as he was panting. Hayate gave the boy a more respectful glance. Few seal experts were able to seal living things, doing so required a high level of skill and a large chakra capacity. Although Naruto had the chakra of a cage and was trained by the greatest seal masters in Konoha's history, thanks to the Kyuubi, this did not lessen his merit or the risks he took. As he assisted Naruto in sitting up, Hayate thought, he saved these men's lives, I'll make sure that this won't be unnoticed. The Jonin responded, by the way, how you realized that they were in the bushes? Are you a sensor type? No, I can't be considered one yet. I only can sense other chakra signatures in less than 10 meters and I'm still having problems to determine the concrete point where they are. Ero Sennin says that a true sensor type has a reach of hundreds of meters with great precision, replied Naruto. As he made his way to check on Hinata's patient, Hayate remarked, I have no doubt that you'll manage to be one soon. The knowledge that Mako's life was no longer in jeopardy brought him relief. As he watched the girl finish treating Mako, Hayate wondered, how many lives wouldn't have been lost if Konoha had started the Medic Nin program earlier. I think that you are now healthy enough to walk for yourself, but you are not in condition to fight, you must return to Konoha to receive further treatment, Hinata replied. Mako stood up and promised Hinata, thank you very much, Hyuga-san, I owe my life. Wait, what happened with the others? He said. Hayate pointed to Naruto and said, don't worry about them, Uzumaki-san over there sealed them in a scroll putting them in ecstasy state. When Mako saw the blonde, he nearly lost his mind. Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto, you must get out from this forest as soon as possible. Your life is endangered. The ones who did this to us said that they are going after you. They talked about a reward for your capture, said the man. Naruto remarked, what, why would they want to get me? Oh, I understand. Hayate muttered an expletive. The protection of Naruto became one of the village's top priorities after Jiraiya took control and assembled the village's higher-ranking ninjas to tell them about Akatsuki and their scheme to seize all the Biju for their malevolent ends. Jonin turned to face his colleague. Mako, can you give us a description of them? He said. The other ninja were cut off before they could speak. A voice said, we can introduce ourselves, there's no need for that. Mizuki and the stupid brothers were in front of them. Since his last encounter with the brothers, Hayate hardly recognized them. Raijin's skin had turned blue, and Fujin's had turned red. The heads of both brothers were now crowned with a pair of horns. He didn't recognize the man who looked like a tiger, but based on the way he was staring at Naruto, it appeared that he harbored a personal grudge against the boy. Hayate took a stance after unheeding the Nadaime's sword, which was jokingly also called Raijin, like one of the brothers. Naruto, Hinata, Mako. Take the scroll with you and abandon the forest immediately. I'll distract them as much as I can, instructed Hayate. After acknowledging that he was not fit to fight, Mako nodded, accepted the scroll, and departed, followed by Hinata and Naruto. When Hayate triggered the sword's power, an electric energy blade emerged from the hilt. He was shocked to see Hinata and Naruto by his side. What are you doing here? What happened with Mako? I told you to escape, shouted. Mako is being followed by a pair of bunchins, there's only one person needed to take the scroll to a safe place, Naruto said. Hinata remarked, we couldn't let you fight alone against them. Hayate attempted to say, but I told you to, before Naruto cut her off. Yeah, I know, ninjas must follow orders, but we are not ninjas yet. Anyways, my father and Kakashi always say that taking care of your comrades is more important than following orders, Naruto replied. Naruto's words caused the Tiger Man to start clapping. Nice speech, Kyuubi boy, but when I finish with you, you and your friend would have wished to escape with that ninja, Mizuki replied. Naruto looked at Mizuki and said, you. The former instructor grinned, giving the impression that Naruto was afraid of his new look. Naruto asked, who are you? Mizuki perspired. He said, it's me, Mizuki. With a disgusted expression on his face, Naruto took up his guard. The boy yelled, you are among the traitors who sought to sell me to the enemy. Traitor, I was doing a favor to the village, but that stupid Hokage gives more importance to abominations like you instead to true humans like me, replied Mizuki. As Naruto took in Mizuki's new look, he began to perspire. Anyo, have you noticed that you are not any longer a human? He inquired. Fujin said, you look more like an overgrown cat, Mizuki. That's true. Mizuki flushed. They yelled, shut up and attack. Unknown address. Madara was thinking back on his accomplishments over the past few months while he was safe in one of the many hiding places he had established over his lengthy life. When the true Akatsuki leader first found himself in the past with some of his adversaries, he believed that it would be more difficult to carry out his plans this time around because he would have to deal with a very protective Yondaime Hokage and his now warned allies, who were all aware of his plans for the Biju. Knowing his plans, however, did not guarantee that they would understand how he would carry them out this time. Madara still had some advantages, such as the fact that they were unaware of his true location, whereas he was aware that they would spend the majority of their time in the Konoha area. Most of the deceased Akatsuki members, including Kisame, Kakuzu, Zetsu, Deidara, Itachi, and of course Pain, were now back in Madara's favor. And he regained the loyalty of Omegakure and Konan with the last one. This time, he refused to allow Naruto's philosophy to indoctrinate Nagato. He refused to allow Itachi to end his own life this time while attempting to protect his younger brother from Orochimaru's immorality. The enjoyable aspect of this situation, however, was that he accomplished that without having to do anything. The snake Sannin would be kept away from Sasuke by Konoha ninjas. It was unfortunate that he lost Kaworu and Sasori once more, but this time, the puppeteer's passing served his interests. When Sasori passed away in the original timeline, Madara discovered the puppeteer's lair and all of its secrets. Unfortunately, the security measures were triggered at Madara's pressure and destroyed the lair along with all of its secrets when he attempted to enter. This time, however, Madara was able to deactivate the security measures and gain access to Sasori's secrets because of his prior knowledge from the future. He was not at all disappointed by what he discovered. In addition to being Suna's best puppeteer, Sasori was also her best seal master. The Uchiha discovered that only Minato Namikaze himself ever had a seal-related skill better than Sasori's, as even Madara, with his years of experience, struggled to comprehend some of the most complex patterns. Madara's favorite of Sasori's inventions was the domination seal, which was ideal for making spies. The fact that the agent had to live in the village for years in order to obtain a position where they could access some of the village's valuable secrets was one of the primary challenges of infiltrating spies in other ninja villages. This practice was problematic because there was a significant chance that the spy would become attached to the village and turn against his former community. Many spies discovered that they were happier in Konoha than in their home villages, which was especially true in the case of Konoha and its well-known Will of Fire. Konoha, the Will of Fire, and its damned way of running things. Madara gritted his teeth. The Uchiha clan betrayed Madara and joined their ancestral enemies because of Konoha. However, Sasori discovered the ideal method for infiltrating spies without taking the risk of going native and without having to wait years for results. A devoted shinobi from the village you wished to spy on became a sleeper agent thanks to the domination seal. When the seal is activated, the victim's slip personality takes over, while the original personality becomes lethargic and is oblivious to the new personality or its actions while in control. With the exception of being totally devoted to the seal's owner, the new personality retained all of the memories and distinctive characteristics. In this manner, the sealer not only avoided having to wait years for the spy to obtain the information he needed, but he also had a servant in the enemy ranks to carry out his orders. With Sasori's notes now under his control, Madara was aware of all the sleeper agents Sasori had created during his 9-year absence and how to give him that loyalty. Sasori was able to implant agents in most elemental nations and ninja villages, and the Uchiha had to admit it. The puppeteer was clearly following Akatsuki as long as it suited his own plans, which he had his own. One of the biggest surprises was Yakushi Kabuto, Orochimaru's right-hand man and Konoha spy. Madara is unaware of those plans and did not discover them. It was clear that Minato and company chose to monitor Kabuto and ensure he didn't obtain critical information rather than arresting him. This was a very astute strategy for dealing with spies. Madara chuckled that they were unaware that Kabuto was his employee and that he now had access to Orochimaru's trade secrets. The Curse Seal, which transforms people into potent killing machines by using Jugo's enzymes, particularly captivated Madara. Iwa Nins would have loved to see that improvement, but it was unfortunate that the success rate was so low. Madara created a unique method for implanting Jugo's abilities that has a higher success rate and gives the subjects remarkable regeneration abilities. The issue was that this version of the experiment killed the subjects after a few hours and left them nearly as mentally unstable as Jugo. Madara made the decision to send the stupid brothers to capture Naruto and force Kabuto to test his new formula while incorporating some of Jugo's enzymes into the tiger serum meant for Mizuki. The best part was that Orochimaru would be held accountable by Madara's enemies even if his agents were unable to apprehend Naruto. As he put on his Iwa ninja disguise, Madara thought, oh yes. Time travel is not so bad. With Hinata, Hayate, and Naruto, the Konoha ninjas and the prisoners appeared to be engaged in a stalemate in the final moments of the battle. Hayate was initially more concerned about protecting his young friends than battling the enemy, but he was relieved to see that Naruto and Hinata could look after themselves. While Naruto and his clones battled Raijin, Hinata dealt with Mizuki. As he tried his hardest to beat his opponent Fujin as quickly as possible, Hayate thought, I haven't seen such talent since Itachi Uchiha. And from what I've heard, their classmates are also very talented. Despite their physical strength, the stupid brothers were slow, so a seasoned Chunin on the defensive could avoid their strikes. The issue was that Naruto and Hinata were still exhausted from rescuing the other ninjas, and it was very difficult to counterattack those blows. The brothers also had the advantage of having good stamina. Raijin was about to strike Fujin, but at the last second, he used Kawarimi to dodge an attack that totally destroyed a tree. Before he knew it, Naruto was descending on him while preparing one of his favorite moves. Naruto yelled, Rasengan, as he struck Raijin's chest with the blue chakra ball. Brother! Fujin yelled, momentarily ignoring Hayate. The Jonin only needed it. The swift sword swing caused the powerful weapon to pierce Fujin's stomach. At the same moment, Mizuki's Tenketsu was blocked by Hinata using her clan's 64-point technique, rendering him immobile. Geez, it was easier than I thought. I can't believe that they managed to escape from prison and defeat so many ninjas, said Naruto. They probably caught them off guard, Hinata remarked, panting. Mizuki said as she stood up, no, we just used a greater portion of our power. Naruto, Hinata, and Hayate watched in shock as the brothers and the former teacher stood up after suffering such horrific injuries. As the hole in Fujin's stomach closed, the spiraling wound on Raijin's chest vanished. The brothers' bodies then started to change, taking on an even more monstrous appearance. They grew larger until they were 3 meters each, and their horns and fangs grew longer. For his part, Mizuki started to wriggle. As his body transformed into a more horrible form, his enemies could hear the creaking of his bones. When the transformation was complete, Mizuki stood 2.5 meters tall, his hands had grown into strong claws, his body was even more muscular and bulky, and his head was entirely covered in tiger fur. I know that this phrase is a cliché, but I think that I spoke too soon, said Naruto. When the transformation was complete, Mizuki stood 2.5 meters tall, his hands had grown into strong claws, his body was even more muscular and bulky, and his head was entirely covered in tiger fur. I know that this phrase is a cliché, but I think that I spoke too soon, said Naruto. The boy considered what he could do. Shit, I expended most my chakra and all my ink sealing the injured ninjas, and in the process I had to delete all the combat seals I had with me in order to make space for them in the scroll. Hinachan also expended a lot of chakra healing that Jonin, Mako. The only one who was relatively fresh is Hayate-san, but I doubt that he would be able to fight the 3 of them at the same time, said Naruto. Even more foolish than usual, the brothers exchanged glances with one another. Mizuki was delighted as he thought about his new physique. He had never felt so resilient, strong, and agile. Grar, grower, grower, grunt. Ha, 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 ha. What do you think about this, monster? He yelled. Hayate, Hinata, and Naruto gazed at him, less impressed and more perplexed. Mizuki developed a vein in his forehead. Roarg. Groffle, gruff pfft, grower. What? I became more powerful than ever and you just stare at me like that, he said. Hayate and his companions witnessed Mizuki, who had now transformed into a tiger-like creature, start growling once more as if he were attempting to speak. Once more, they were unable to comprehend anything. Naruto asked Hayate, what did he say? The Jonin said, I have no idea. Roarg. Groff, gruff gronef, grawl. What? You can understand anything that I say, Mizuki responded. The former educator recognized that his new look prevented him from speaking in a humane manner. His mouth and vocal cords were different from those of a typical human being. He would have to start over when it came to speaking. Grouch, rar, shit, what else could go wrong? He said. A green blur yelled, dynamic entry, as it struck Mizuki, separating him by a few meters. Knowing the outcome of the round-eyed Genin's training with his adoptive father made a guy, Naruto and Hinata were excited to see their friend Rock Lee joining the battle. Lee glanced at Hinata and Naruto. Naruto-san, Hinata-san, Hayate-san. Finally I found you. I went over all the forest trying to find you, said he. Naruto remarked. Lee, you have no idea how happy we are to see you. Hinata questioned. How did you know that we were by this zone, Lee-san? I was doing my afternoon training in the forest when I crossed paths with a ninja named Mako and a pair of clones who looked like you both while they were being attacked by some prisoners who escaped from prison. After helping him to knock out the prisoners, he told me that Hayate-san was fighting very dangerous enemies, and we found that the Naruto and Hinata who were with us were in reality clones, so I rushed here to help you, stated Lee. Naruto became aware that he had memories of those clones, but he was too preoccupied with the battle to notice it at the time. They turned their heads when they heard a growl behind them. They observed Mizuki making a clear sign of pain by holding his jaw. Mizuki saw the Konoha's forehead protector on Lee's waist and recognized him. He is that useless freak unable to mold chakra. He managed to graduate too. The standards of this village have dropped a lot during my absence, believed. For a few moments that felt like hours, Lee steadily gazed at Mizuki. Who are you? Lee inquired. Mizuki collapsed to the ground and started yelling incoherently at Lee. Lee questioned, what is he saying? I don't know. He is Mizuki, our former academy teacher. It looks like he and the stupid brothers took some substances that altered their bodies and make them stronger, Naruto replied. Lee's expression was grave as he gazed at Mizuki. Pointing to Mizuki and the stupid brothers, who were now napping, Lee chastised them, saying, Mizuki-san. Drugs are bad. A good ninja should learn to rely on his own abilities and training in order to improve. Drugs have nefarious consequences, look at you and your friends. It was the final straw. Lee was evaded by the young ninja as Mizuki lunged at him and attempted to rip him with his claws. Lee glanced at his friends, who nodded and rushed toward Mizuki. Hayate approached Mizuki using an illusionary technique. Naruto pulled out his special kunais and focused wind chakra on them, and Hinata activated her Byakugan. Mizuki called out to the stupid brothers, Grorg, Groof. Come on you two, let's destroy them. Only to discover that they were asleep. His enemies were over him before he knew it. Meow. Oh, crap. In the meantime, a seal buried in a rock close to the main road to Konoha in Fire Country started to glow and then burst into light. The Hand of Death, Konoha's elite squad, was present when the light faded. Minato Namikaze placed a large number of his unique teleporting seals in secret locations throughout all of the elemental countries after he developed them and until his death. It was especially helpful when he made the decision to adopt his Arashi Kazama persona in order to accept high-level missions on his own. He was able to finish high-ranking missions in less than a day, avoiding travel time and the need for escape plans, thanks to the seals. Since he needed to confirm that the seals were still functional and not all members of the group were aware of his true identity, he refrained from using them during the initial Hand of the Death missions. However, this was resolved, and they were now free to use the seals as they pleased. Other members concurred with Tenzo's comment, damn it. I still didn't get used to this, I feel like my stomach is upside down. Minato, breathing heavily, remarked, you know that it won't last too much. In a few minutes you will find, it's not like you had to teleport the entire group there. The group rested for a few minutes before walking to Konoha. Zabuza grunted and cursed as they made their way home. Ignoring them, Hiyashi considered telling his nephew to fail the real test and wait another year to become a ninja rather than being stuck with Guy and his mini-him. He had just realized that today was Neji's last day at the academy. Tenzo was too preoccupied with seeing his twin wives and the new uses of the Mokudan that Jiraiya suggested to him with a perverted smile to pay attention to Zabuza's tirades. Shizune was observing how Kushina and Minato were communicating via their link without using words. The brunette was unable to control her jealousy of them. They know what the other feels and they could feel each other's presence. Probably Minato is now praising Kushina's performance in battle while she does the same for him. Or perhaps he is telling her how happy he is for doing missions with her, Shizune pondered. Kushina and Minato continued their mental dialogue. Minato looked at Kushina lustfully and said, Kushi-chan, when we get home I will lay you on the bed, I'll take off all your clothes and I'll censor your censored until you faint from the pleasure. Kushina smiled mischievously and said, really? Then I'll do that thing that you like so much, you know, the one with my hair. Shizune was too innocent, poor thing. Kakashi made the decision to question Zabuza about his negative attitude in the interim. What's going on, Zabuza? We defeated the enemy ninjas, the mission was a success, nobody was hurt and we will sleep at our homes. Why the angry face? Replied Kakashi. He was given a bingo book by Zabuza, most likely from their vanquished adversaries. Check out my profile, Zabuza said. Kakashi perused the Zabuza-related pages. Momochi Zabuza, formerly a class missing nin from Kurigakure. Status updated to A+ class ninja of Konohagakure. Specialist in silent killing, Kenjutsu, high-level Suiten jutsus. Former member of the Seven Swordmen from Mist, actually a member of Konoha's Hand of Death. Extremely dangerous, according to Kakashi. He gave his comrade a perplexed look. As Kakashi remarked, "What's the problem, Zabuza? You have been updated to A+ class." Continue reading, Zabuza said. Quote. Former alias, the Demon of the Mist, actual alias, Mr. February. Now I'm known as Mr. February, shouted Zabuza. The reputation that took me years to achieve is wasted to the toilet. I shouldn't have accepted to help in that stupid calendar. Do you know that the prisoner women we saved wanted an autograph? Sadly, Kakashi was forced to listen to Zabuza's tirades for the remainder of the journey. Returning to Naruto and company. After defeating Mizuki, Naruto, Hinata, Lee, and Hayate were enjoying a meal of Ichiraku ramen bowls that had been unsealed from Naruto's tiny, emergency scroll. The group found the Tiger Man to be an exceptionally formidable foe. He avoided injuries that would have killed a normal person thanks to his capacity for regeneration. He was also very strong and quick. He should have won the battle if we include the numerous strong jutsus he learned in secret while incarcerated and the fact that half of his opponents were worn out. Why didn't he win? Well, the explanation is simple. Every time the Kyuubi chose to make various physical improvements to their bodies, Mizuki found himself with the same issue as other alternate versions of Naruto from alternate realities, an imbalance between the ninja's physical and mental energies, which resulted in a drop in the alternative version of Naruto's chakra control. Mizuki was unaware of this fact and was not given the opportunity to complete the training, but the alternative Narutos typically resolved this issue by practicing chakra control for a few days until they were able to regain their normal chakra control. Before recognizing his issue, the Tiger Hybrid tried unsuccessfully to perform jutsus and lost most of his chakra. Furthermore, his body abruptly started to deteriorate and lost its ability to regenerate. The Tiger formula did not appear to be as effective as it ought to be. Naruto sent Mizuki flying to another area of the forest after slamming a Rasengan into his stomach, ending the battle. Hayate made a note to send an Anbu team to pick up Mizuki as soon as possible. He gazed at the stupid brothers' sleeping bodies, bound with all of their ninja wire. Given their recent physical improvements, the Jonin realized how fortunate they were that the brothers chose to take a nap. They would not waste their chakra trying to perform ninjutsu because they were combat specialists, based on brute strength. Hayate glanced at the younger ones, who were discussing the battle in lively conversation. They are really skilled and they prove to be real ninjas. There's no need to make them pass a test to see that they are qualified to be ninjas. Hell, saw weaker genins being recommended to take the Chunin exams, said Hayate. His thoughts were interrupted by a growl from the direction of the stupid brothers tying. He watched in horror as the now awake brothers looked at the children with a hungry expression that betrayed no intelligence and broke the metal wires as if they were nothing. Hayate was horrified to see that every ramen bowl was empty when she glanced at the food. Hayate exclaimed in alarm, "Naruto, do you have any food left?" Naruto used his head to deny. "No, I just finished the last bowl," replied. The brothers became enraged and charged at them when they realized there was no food left. The Jonin understood that the real conflict was just getting started. Along with the other rookies, the recent graduates were wondering how they were going to locate Hinata and Naruto. Neji and Sasuke, who were both attempting to lead the group, were debating whether to split up into separate groups or stay together. Shino spoke to them. "Somebody is coming. They are a group of 5, experienced ninjas according to the way they move," said the man. 5 Konoha ninjas reportedly appeared a short while later. One of them, a woman from the Hyuga tribe, went straight to Neji. Before Kyoko Hyuga cut him off, Neji said, "Kassen, you joined the chase too. There's something very important that you must know. What are you all doing here? You were not supposed to be there," Kyoko responded. As Neji and his mother conversed, the other rookies listened. Ino remarked, "I had no idea that Neji's mother was also a ninja. The mission of all branch members is to protect the main ones. All of them have ninja training," stated Sai. When Neji told her mother about Mizuki and the stupid brothers, she was clearly alarmed. Kyoko then explained to the graduates what the graduation exam would actually be like. Kiba grumbled, "We are not ninjas yet. Except for Shino, Sai, and Shikamaru, the other rookies reacted similarly and merely pretended to be irritated. Kyoko turned to face Aoba Yamashiro, her squad leader, who was a little impressed by the fact that some young people who weren't quite ninjas were still able to apprehend so many fugitives. "This is what we will do. Jiro and Hokuton will escort the kids back to Konoha. The rest of us will seek Naruto and Hinata," the Jonin replied. Everybody gave a nod. 3 adult ninjas started searching for Naruto and Hinata, while a group of rookies and prisoners made their way to Konoha. This final group was unaware that a third group, made up of Shino, Shikamaru, and Neji, was following them. "My bug clones will fool them for a while, but it will be better if we manage to rescue our comrades before they find out about them," said Shino. Neji and Shikamaru both nodded. "I really hope that you to protect Hinata, Naruto," Neji thought to himself, "because if my cousin gets hurt you desire to end in Madara's hands." Hayate exclaimed in alarm, "Naruto, do you have any food left?" Naruto used his head to deny. "No, I just finished the last bowl," replied. The brothers became enraged and charged at them when they realized there was no food left. The Jonin understood that the real conflict was just getting started. While Raijin charged at Lee and Hayate, Fujin charged at Naruto and Hinata. The brothers' fists struck the ground, shattering it to the point where the closest trees were rooting up, but the ninjas dodged the blows at the last second. Hayate thought, "Shit, in this state they are almost as strong as Tsunade." As Lee applied a Konoha Senpu to Raijin's chin, the Jonin engaged the Nadime's sword's blade and struck Raijin's shoulder with great force. Raijin suffered a terrible shoulder wound and a sprained neck as a result of the attacks, but sadly, these injuries didn't seem to be enough. Raijin appeared more perplexed than distressed by the injuries. He took hold of his head and started to move it around as it cracked, sending shivers down the ninja's spine. To Hayate's dismay, the wound on his shoulder closed itself as he adjusted his neck. "This is bad, very bad. The only way to kill them is to damage them faster than they could heal until they die, or to inflict such a terrible blow that would mean an instant kill, like decapitating them or destroying their hearts," said Hayate. Raijin roared, "Grrg," as he felled yet another tree. Unfortunately, saying it is easier than achieving it, believed. Hinata and Naruto were experiencing comparable issues with Fujin. On the inside, Hinata was thanking Kushina for assisting her in using her water affinity in her Juken. Without the established dodging techniques for the Juken style, she would not have been able to avoid the final blows. The heiress was certain that Neji and other Hyugas would not have cooperated with her, even though they might have been able to use those moves to accomplish it. Naruto appeared captivated by Hinata's deft maneuver to avoid a kick from Fujin and deliver another chakra palm to the brother's organs. "She is so graceful. Whenever I see her fighting she reminds me to a swan or a butterfly. It almost looked that she is dancing with her enemy instead of fighting him. What am I doing? I must help Hinata, not staring at her like an idiot," said Naruto. He prepared one of his wind jutsus by making some hand signals. He yelled, "Futon Rakuten," as he fired a strong air blast that struck Fujin in the back. "Rouaur," cried Fujin, who was more irritated than hurt by Naruto's meddling. Naruto exclaimed, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," and sent clones to assist Hinata. "Shit, he regenerates too fast. If I had more chakra I would defeat him easily with a swarm of clones using Rasengans, but because I used most my chakra in those seals." "Wait, chakra, seals, am I a baka or what? I practically forgot it," thought Naruto as he slashed his forehead. As he pulled up his sleeves and gave a mental command, Naruto thought, "Ouch. My poor hand. I also forgot about the forehead protector." A pair of intrincate seals materialized in Naruto's forearms at the precise moment the order was given. The development of chakra storage seals, which were intended to absorb and store chakra from the user whenever his reserves were depleted, was one of the things Naruto learned about seals from his father in the past few months. They were typically employed as a last resort when the user's chakra was low, as in Naruto's case, or to execute jutsus that required enormous amounts of chakra, as Minato did during his battle against Sasori. The seals on the boy's wrists gave him a satisfied look. While performing the hand signs for the summoning jutsu, Naruto thought, "Excellent, they are at his maximum capacity. They are literally my ace in the sleeve. With full seals I have enough chakra to summon a gigantic toad like Gameken, Gamahiro, or even Gamabunta." Naruto cried out, "Kuchio's no jut," as he saw Hinata tripping over a root and about to be struck by Fujin. Unthinking, Naruto used the advanced Kawarimi to transform himself into Hinata by focusing the chakra from the seals on himself. When Hinata stumbled over that root, her heart stopped, and she thought Fujin would crush her. Then, all of a sudden, she felt a force pulling her, and she was a few meters away from where she had been just seconds before, witnessing Naruto take the punch that was meant for her. Although the change was successful, there was a price. The sound of bones breaking from Naruto's arm was something Hinata would never forget. Naruto! Hinata cried out. When the surviving clones realized that the original was in danger, they abandoned their security and attacked Fujin. The clones exploited the brothers' surprise by performing a combined combo that would have rendered a typical ninja unconscious. Hinata made a quick diagnosis by using her Byakugan after quickly jumping to Naruto's side. He had 2 nearly cracked ribs and a broken arm. Naruto tried to hide his pain with a fake smile as he said, "Have you seen it, Hinata-chan? Finally I mastered that technique." As she started to tend to Naruto's arm, Hinata, on the edge of tears, exclaimed, "And Naruto-kun." "Why?" Naruto said, "Why what, Hinata-chan?" Hinata questioned, "Why did you take that blow for me? As a medic you can always heal others, but nobody would be able to heal you if you were the one who was hurt. Besides that, what kind of Hokage I would be if I couldn't protect my friends? I could never forgive me." Naruto grinned. Uncertain of the reason behind his thoughts, he thought, especially if you were the one hurt. As Hinata concentrated all of her energy on healing Naruto's arm, she said, "Thank you, Naruto-kun." Naruto watched the battle between Fujin and his clones while Hinata worked. The situation was not going smoothly. Fujin was able to eliminate all but 2 of the clones. Just as the brother was about to destroy them, 2 metal objects struck his back, knocking him down. The objects caused some cracks in the ground when they hit it, indicating that they were heavier than they looked. They were identified by Naruto as training weights. Lee charged quickly and said, "I'm sorry, but I won't let you hurt my friends. For that reason I took off my weights. Now prepare to see how bright burn the flames of my youth." Unfortunately, the brother continued to recover from the blows more quickly than they were delivered, even though the young green beast started to give Fujin a number of beatings. While waiting for Hinata to finally fix his arm and join them, Naruto watched the fight with great anticipation. In addition, he saw that Hayate was fighting Raijin effectively on his own, but he also saw that the Jonin couldn't fight for very long. Hinata would assist them as soon as he was done repairing his arm, his ribs could wait. A familiar voice said, "Hey boss, what is happening? Are you all right?" It surprised Naruto to learn that Gamabunta's sons, Gamakichi and Gamatatsu, were with him. "Of course, I practically finished the Kuchio's no jutsu at the moment I refocused most the chakra to do the advanced Kawarimi. The Kuchio's instead of being cancelled, was activated with less chakra," thought Naruto as he observed his toad companions. Naruto said, "Hello everyone. You have no idea how delighted I am to see you." Gamatatsu said, "Do you have any snacks?" "I'm sorry, as soon as we finish with this I'll invite you to a good meal," Naruto replied. Without averting her gaze from Naruto's nearly healed arm, Hinata questioned, "Naruto-kun. Who are they?" "They are Gamakichi and Gamatatsu, Gamabunta's children. They have been trained by Pa and Ma to be my fighting partners." "Gamakichi, Gamatatsu, this is my friend Hinata, she is a medic nin, one of Bachan's apprentices," Naruto said. At last, Hinata stopped to tend to Naruto's arm and gave the toads a little hello. I'm very glad to meet you. Please, forgive me for seeming to be distant, I was healing Naruto-kun's arm." "Are you going to help us?" replied Hinata. Hinata was greeted by the toads. I don't know if we will able to give you some help. It's been only some months since we started our training and this is our first real battle. Do you have something to eat?" replied Gamatatsu. After finding a tiny candy bar in her pockets, Hinata handed it to Gamatatsu. Gamakichi, for his part, was gazing at Hinata with gratitude. Gamakichi whispered in Naruto's ear, "Hey boss. Is she your, is she your, special friend?" Hinata-chan. "Yes, she is my special friend," Naruto replied, thinking Gamakichi was inquiring as to whether Hinata was his best friend rather than his girlfriend. The congratulator said, "Wow, boss. You have a great taste." To Gamakichi. Not understanding what Gamakichi was talking about, Naruto reminded him that Lee and Hayate, his 2 surviving clones, were still engaged in combat with the stupid brothers. "Enough talk. I'm glad to have you there, but I still doubt that we could defeat the stupid brothers. If only we could find a way to stop their regeneration powers," said Naruto. Hinata remarked, "Anyo, I think that I found out how their healing worked. Really? How? Naruto inquired. When I fought against them with my Byakugan active, I noticed that in their transformation they developed some new tenketsus. These new tenketsus focused great chakra quantities towards the damaged parts of the body whenever the brothers were wounded. They must be the cause of the healing. I closed them various times, but whenever I did it, the great chakra flow just reopened them, apologized a bit to Hinata. For a few seconds, Naruto continued to ponder. Do you mean that they wouldn't heal if they didn't have these tenketsus? He inquired. Hinata gave a nod. Yes, but there are not specific techniques to destroy tenketsus. My clan has been researching for years looking to a way to do it with Juken, and I doubt that any other clan developed a technique to do it because we Hyugas are the only ones able to see them, Hinata said with a pessimistic tone. But when Naruto smiled, the girl's expression changed to one of surprise. Hayate sat in Raijin's shoulders and stabbed the brother in the head, saying, "Excuse me. Lee and I would be very grateful if you helped us." Lee concurred as he punched Fujin in the nose, breaking it. Yash, although I'm very happy for having such a great fight, I would be even happier if you joined us as soon as possible. Naruto stood up and said he was sorry. Before turning to face Hinata, Naruto flashed a foxy grin and said, "Hold on a little more, we almost got a plan. Hinata, I think that I found a way to destroy the tenketsus, but I'm going to need your help." In the meantime, when Minato, Kushina, and the other members of the Hand of Death arrived in Konoha, they were taken aback by the unusual shinobi activity. A ninja was stopped by Bear Hiyashi. He said, Can you tell us what is happening?" The members of the renowned squad were identified by the ninja, who also told them about the significant prison break. Before heading back his way, the ninja said, "You should talk to Hokage-sama or Tsunade-sama, they are at the hospital. This time the prison break incident happened before than in our original timeline. We must talk with Tsunade immediately," said Minato. "Yes, we should ensure Naruto's safety as well," Kushina concurred. They saw that the hospital was packed with injured ninjas and some inmates awaiting treatment when they got there. Iruka was there to ensure that the inmates would act appropriately. The squad was welcomed and given additional information about the events by the Jonin teacher. "Tsunade-sama and Hokage-sama are in the next room, surely they will ask for your help in the raids. By the way, Arashi, Kushina, congratulations, Naruto took the graduation exam and passed it with flying colors. Same goes for you, Zabuza-san, Haku also graduated," said Iruka. Arashi and Kushina exchanged worried glances. They questioned the teacher. What? He decided to take it again before his classmates. Why yes, but he was not the only one. Sasuke, Choji, Shikamaru, Sakura, Kiba, Ino, Hinata, Sai and Shino also took the exam and passed, Iruka replied. Arashi and Kushina let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. For a moment I thought that he would be in a team with complete strangers instead than his friends, said Minato. I must speak to Jiraiya and suggest him who would be the best teammates for Naruto. I won't let him to put Naruto in the same team as Sakura or Sasuke, Kushina replied. Kakashi remarked, Sasuke will request additional training now that he has graduated. Zabuza pondered, I wonder who will be Haku's teammates. Hinata graduating at the same time than Neji, I wonder how his ego will take it, Hiyashi mused. The squad proceeded to the next room, where they discovered Tsunade teaching Haku and a girl they identified as Yakumo Kurama how to treat a Chunin's injuries without chakra because he was overconfident in his skills, and Jiraiya using the Hokage's crystal ball to assess the raid team's progress. The Hand of Death reporting, Sire. The mission was a success. We heard about the prison break and we want to know if our presence will be needed in the captures, Arashi replied. Good to have you back, said Jiraiya. I need you to capture Mizuki and the stupid brothers. It seems that they are stronger than they were supposed to be and you are among the few who could capture them without risk. By the way, it looks like your brat finally managed to perform your flying technique, said Jiraiya. Really, I also found out that he graduated early. He is more precocious than I expected, Arashi replied. Jiraiya gave them a look. With a cheeky grin, Jiraiya remarked, precocious, indeed. The rumors also assure that he was seen with the Hyuga heiress on his arms. What? Hiyashi cried. Really? A cheerful Kushina asked. A ninja with a scroll entered the room before Jiraiya could elaborate. Hokage-sama, it's terrible. Naruto Uzumaki, the Hyuga heiress and Guy's kid are in great danger. We must send a rescue team immediately, shouted Mako. Then he became aware of the person present. He was seized by his vest by Arashi, Kushina, and Hiyashi. They said, "What happened? Where are they?" Mako swallowed and briefly wished he could remain motionless in the forest, confronting the brothers and the Mizuki, including Naruto and Co. Naruto glanced at Gamakichi and Gamatatsu in the hands of his two surviving clones. "Are you four ready? Do you have any doubts left?" he inquired. They all said, "No, boss." In unison, gazing at the girl, Naruto questioned, "And you, Hinata?" "And no, Naruto-kun. I'm ready," Hinata said, blushing as she moved toward him and took his hands. Hinata's hands are really soft. Stop thinking like that, there's a job to do, said Naruto. He turned to face the clone clutching Gamakichi. "Okay, attack," he cried out. The clone leapt to stand close to Fujin and started focusing wind chakra through Gamakichi as the toad executed a jutsu move. Gamakichi exclaimed, "Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu," and unleashed a superheated fireball using the wind chakra of the clone. Fujin exclaimed, "AOOOOOWL," in agony over an attack that would have killed a Jonin. "Hinata, now," yelled Naruto as he and Hinata leapt in the direction of the frail Fujin. Then, still holding Naruto's hands and with her Byakugan activated, Hinata started striking Fujin's special tenketsu with the middle of Naruto's palm. For his part, Naruto executed the second Rasengan Steppa, the one that destroyed Rubber Balsa, as fast as he could. Fortunately for him, compared to a Rasengan, it required very little chakra to perform a single step that he already knew how to do. As they executed the last special tenketsu, Hinata remarked, "That was the last one, Naruto." Naruto glanced at the clone carrying Gamatatsu without checking to see if their plan had worked. "Your turn," he commanded. While concentrating wind chakra through Gamatatsu, who executed a jutsu, the clone positioned himself close to Raijin. Gamatatsu yelled, "Suiden, Teppadama," and unleashed a strong stream of water that was enhanced by the clone's wind chakra. Raijin cried out, "Brrg," as the jutsu struck him hard, shattering several bones. With Hinata guiding Naruto's palms toward their adversary's tenketsus, the two of them leapt towards Raijin and launched the same assault they had on his brother. Lee and Hayate watched the attacks with fascination. As Hayate caught his breath, he said, "I don't know what they are doing, but it seems to work. Fujin has regained his human form and the same is happening to Raijin." With waterfall tears in his eyes, Lee thought, "Naruto-san and Hinata-san look very youthful, their flames really burn with great strength." Hinata glanced quickly at both brothers as they delivered the last blow to Raijin. "And Naruto, we did it. Their special tenketsus are destroyed, they won't regenerate anymore," she exclaimed as she became aware that they probably wouldn't have been able to execute the attack successfully if it weren't for the training they had done with Kushina. Naruto hugged a very red Hinata and exclaimed, "Yes. We made it. I knew that we could do it." After the victory, as Lee joined Gamakichi and Gamatatsu in hugging, he exclaimed, "Naruto-san, Hinata-san. You made it. You were amazing." "We all made it," said Naruto. "If you and Hayate-san were not distracting, then we couldn't have performed the combined attacks." With a slight smile, Hayate glanced at the toads and the recent graduates. "What they said about the future is true. This generation of shinobi will surpass all the previous ones, believed." Abruptly, the brothers started to rise with difficulty. "It really hurts," exclaimed Fujin, who was covered in burns of varying intensities. "Yes, you will pay," Raijin said, attempting to maintain his strength despite his fractured bones. As Hayate became more vigilant, he thought, they regained their senses. But they are as stupid as ever, they are no longer in condition to fight. The stupid brothers then sensed a strong desire to kill them. They saw that Naruto's slitted, red eyes were fixed on them. As he cracked his knuckles, Naruto roared, "What's going on with you two? Are you so stupid you don't know when you are defeated? Do you want more? Fine." As he made his way to the afraid brothers. After 2 minutes, two severely battered stupid brothers begged Naruto to stop hitting them. Hinata was able to calm him down, and Lee then started to request a fight with Naruto. At last, Hayate eased up and rested his head against a tree. "Well, it looks like we finally managed to win. I wonder how people will take that the stupid brothers and Mizuki were defeated by some genins who didn't take the final test yet."
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.